in some type of way. I wish I heard you say that maybe what I'm feeling isn't real and the ceiling is falling as my voice is calling for that feeling again. Wish me try to understand, but I can't possibly know. You make me feel alive. You make my lungs feel right. apology, still everybody's mad at me. Can't react to my body 'cause it's begging me, begging me to cheat. You will see just how perfect I
It's time for the Belong Arena Clash semi-finals for the League of Legends Championship. My name is Stanley Greyheart-Barker. I am, of course, joined by Maritz Chronicler Mewson.
Yeah, thanks for having me back again. You seem to backstab me every week, and yet I seem to come back every time, no matter how many times your rig predictions come true.
It's disappointing for me too. Tonight we're going to get to see the Clyde Claymores going up against the London Lionhearts, but first of all we'll be seeing the Portsmouth Pirates against the Preston Invincibles.
Now we're getting to the real games, right? Like we're getting to the semis. This is also the last night of this league that we're going to be casting from the studio, because the winners of tonight will be fighting each other, of course, at Insomnia 64. It's going to be awesome. I want to kind of, ramp it up, but I guess I should leave that to you. But Insomnia, it's going to be amazing, and I think we're going to have some great matches on our hands here tonight.
I think we are. There's a real possibility for a rematch of our grand final from the last split, which was the Clyde Claymores taking on the Portsmouth Pirates. That was a series that the Portsmouth Pirates went 2-0 up in, having previously won 5 of these tournaments, and then back came the Clyde Claymores to take it 3-2. All the matches we'll be seeing tonight will be best of 3s, so if teams want to make a reverse sweep, it's going to have to be from 1-0 down.
And now let's take a look at the bracket here, as we see that both the Claymores and the Lionhearts had a fairly easy go into the semis, and the same can be said for the Pirates. I think the Pirates and the Claymores haven't dropped the game or tournament as of yet. While the Invincibles, we saw them of course last week perform, had a little bit of a tougher time.
Yeah, the Saints, they put up a good fight. They took game number 2 on the back of an exceptional pentakill from one Evan, which you may or may not have seen just before this broadcast came on air, or maybe check it out on our Twitter at Twitter at Twitter Long Arenas. So yeah, really great play. That one was not enough to see the Cardiff Saints through. Instead, it's going to be the Preston Invincibles facing off against the 5-times champions, the Portsmouth Pirates, in our opening game tonight. And that's always kind of rough. Even looking at these teams on paper, I think you call the Pirates a favourite, but not by that big of a margin. But it's more about the experience, right? The knowledge that this team has, being able to consistently get into these finals in the past few seasons. That's always something that's scary to go up against. It definitely is, and also there's got to be a certain amount of confidence for the teams, having been here before and done it all. They're coming into this with less pressure on than maybe a team who are looking to try and make, I don't know if it's their first finals, but certainly their first finals in a while in the Preston Invincibles. Speaking of the Preston Invincibles, we can see their teams and the players who are going to be behind those champions today. For the Invincibles, it's going to be Niangi, Give Riven, Splaff, Alpha Chinchilla, Jacko, and Few.
And then for the Portsmouth Pirates, Divinus, Rhydona, Shaven Tortoise, Ollie T, and Officer Naughty V2, not V1, very important.
Absolutely, you've got to have version 2 in. He's the most
advanced.
He's the most advanced
right,
version.
Like V1, that was a prototype. I guess. Yeah, save version 0. Something as well.
You save version 3 for the finals if you get there. Absolutely.
Got to be careful with that. Can't just unleash version 3 on the world preemptively.
And we are in to the Champions Select slightly preemptively, and we're going to be able to see just who these teams are going to be prioritising. Of course, we got to see a little bit of what these teams could bring to the table last week, and across the split, some of these summoners really do have champions that they are known for.
And I think that Rengar is a big one. Just in general, the Pirates really favouring aggressive play, as we see Rengar getting kind of the way.
Is this actually going to be a good night for predictions for Mao?
That would be something, wouldn't it? But more importantly, what I'm worried about with the Pirates is that they have a very broad champion pool. So the Rengar is a really, really easy one to ban out, and maybe in the same vein I want to go for Nidalee as well, because these hyper-aggressive junglers can really give Shaven Tortoise an early lead, which is going to be tough to deal with for Jacko. But I would not be opposed to just banning out some of these incredible power picks like the Vladimir, like the Lucian that we've seen pop up repeatedly, but instead they decide to go for the Riven ban.
They decide to take Riven off the table. Of course, Give Riven is one of the players for the Preston Invincibles. He is on the bench in this game, so there was no opportunity to give him Riven, and I don't think he would have played it, because I think usually we see him in the ADC slot. Meanwhile, Cassiopeia has been taken away by the Portsmouth Pirates. No interest in letting Splaff get his hands on the champion, who's not allowed to buy boots.
And Taric gets taken away. The more easy of the ban for this Tona Taric lane, right? Because Taric is actually something that can also be played outside of that, while Sonar really is relegated specifically to that somewhat cheesy bot lane that we've seen pop up more and more recently. Of course, having its premiere Belong Arena clash last week, as Thresh and Morgana are taken out as well. So interesting pick and ban here. A lot of focus on the bot lane, which leads me to believe that we're also maybe going to see something like a Lucian pickup. Based on his summoners, I'm going to say that Niangi 3 has played a lot of Hecarim, so maybe we're going to see, but I don't think that's a very good first look, so I wouldn't mind. Something like an Urgot, still, even though he was nerfed in the patch today, which is something we haven't really talked about yet, but he's not as strong as he was previously. Still quite a power pick. Can go to jungle as well, so depends on where it gets flexed.
There were 3 consecutive support bans at the end of that ban phase there, Mao, and as a result it is quite likely we're going to see some supports being picked up in the first phase of this draft before too much gets banned away. Galio, a champion that has seen play in the top lane, in the mid lane, but most commonly at the moment as a support.
And he brings so much to the table. A lot of CC, the taunt, the Justice Punch, and of course the Hero's Entrance in case you ever need to, from the other end of the map, help out your jungler, help out your bot lane while he's getting dove. Just a lot of versatility in that pick. The laning is okay, but it's mostly about the post lane phase and the ease with which he can execute these roams, the ease with which Galio can just make stuff happen. And I like the Hecarim picker as well. It's good. It's an alright matchup into the Urgot. I think especially with the nerf that Urgot receives and the buffs that Hecarim has gotten, that's not a matchup that you're very comfortable with. And it's not that bad blind either. Like, even if Urgot ends up going to the jungle, as we see the Tahm Kench over here, then you're not too set either way. Hecarim is just in a good place right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's the potential flex for it there. Chevan Tortoise might decide to take this one, but considering that we currently see Teleport Ignite being hovered by T in the top lane, it does feel very, very likely that Ponyboy will be on his way up to the top lane to face off against what is likely to be the Urgot. Very unlikely to be the Tahm Kench. There are certain players in the UK scene who love the Tahm Kench top lane. Not looking at anyone in particular, Watley. But I don't think that that's going to be where it's going in this game. Instead, I think it's going to be rounding off the duo with Kaiser in the bot lane.
Yeah, picking up a nice hyper carry, and the Pirates say, well, you go for a hyper carry, we can get one of our own as well. We've also seen something like Jinx gain more popularity. I think that Amath is also a carry that currently is kind of underexplored, but instead both the teams say, well, both of us going to go for somewhat safer lanes. Good gank setups though, because I feel like both the Kaiser Tahm Kench lane with the Devour and with the Slow can set up a gank relatively well, and Kaiser can easily follow up with the Plasma or with the Killer Instincts. And at the same time, on the Hunt combined with Justice Punch, Taunt, and a Rogue Entrance. So a lot of opportunities, and now we see no mid laners and maybe one top laner being picked up, but expecting to see more mid and jungle bans here.
Yeah, absolutely what I'm expecting, and no surprise seeing Zoe taken away from Splaff. The Cassiopeia already removed from his potential champion pool into this game against Divinus, and he's not going to be able to have any sleepy trouble bubbles causing chaos on the Rift today. Aurelia also being removed. Obviously the potential to play it in the mid lane is very much so there, and maybe it's also saying we're not entirely sure where the Hecarim is going.
Yeah, I'm expecting the Invisibles to kind of have a read that it's going to the top lane, because I feel like in jungle it is very all-in. If you don't snowball jungle in its current state, I don't think it really gives Hecarim what it needs, while in top lane you can just relatively easy, farm up that Triforce and then get going with your build. As we see the Sejuani getting taken away there as well. But there always is the possibility, and I think the Portsmouth Pirates are a team that can pull stuff like that off relatively well. The Aurelia is interesting to me. I feel like as a top laner she's quite okay. And as I said before, the Pirates play a lot of these meta champions very well, so they could also flex it around. Yep,
final ban that we see is going to be the Rek'Sai taken away from Chevan Tortoise, so I think that really does confirm that they realise that this Hecarim is going up into the top lane, as we've both said so many times now. This is now going to leave, obviously, the Portsmouth Pirates over on the red side of the map to get their one pick. This one, obviously, probably going to get counterpicked immediately, leaving open one more lane. Let's see whether they opt for a jungler or what is likely, we've now got a question. Is this Galio or Zilean in the mid lane?
It's a good question. I think we're going to see Zilean mid. I feel like, although you do get kind of an okay lane into Tahm Kench Kaiser, so actually I wouldn't mind the Galio mid whatsoever. I do think it's interesting that as we see the Javan 4 getting picked up for Assume for Jekko, you get a really good rounded out composition for the Preston Invincibles. They can still go top lane, I guess. You can still go jungle. We now see Portsmouth hovering that Nidalee at the one aggressive champion that wasn't banned away as of yet, and they are going to lock that in. So right from the get-go here, we have two very different kind of compositions coming out, and it looks like we will be seeing Urgot top and Jacko on the Jarvan. The Invincibles have a really good scaling teamfight composition, right? Like flag and drag as a ball delivery system. You follow up with the Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa has a lot of protection in the form of like the meat shields, Urgot and Jarvan, and Orianna itself scales quite well. You have Tahm Kench to round it all out, so that's quite good. While the Pirates, they have a lot more aggression going on, and their speediness and their engagement and poke can be devastating, because you have the bombs, you have the spears, you have Hecarim, Sivir, Zilean, and then Galio follow-up.
Speedy.
Like, that's actually... Think about how fast a Hecarim with a couple of items with a Zillion speed up and an unhunt is going to be.
That's going to be a lot of extra damage coming through.
Yeah.
And also, you talk about the aggressiveness from the Pirates. It's shown as well in the Summoner spells. It's going to be the cleanse for both Orianna and Tahm Kench, whereas we're going to see double ignite. That's coming out of Hecarim, who's not even running Flash, and the Galio, who is going to be confirmed as a support with Zilean in the mid lane.
Indeed. Loving the Zilean mid lane. You also get an okay lane against the Orianna as well. With the clans getting taken, don't expect Splaff to really ever get killed unless he gets low and gets greedy, because especially with the clans, like the only way that you're going to set up a gank there is if Divinus hits double bomb, and then, you know, unless you can burst them down with Shaven Tortoise, it's just not really going to happen. Overall, the Preston Invincibles really have a composition that, in my opinion, is going to thrive if they can make it through the early game. And they have some ways of getting there, right? Tahm Kench is fairly safe, although you're going to get pushed in early, I expect, because Sivir just pushes very well, especially at early levels. Orianna's just going to have a fine time against Zilean, who's not really going to do a lot until we start hitting some CDR. And in late game, he's going to be the most annoying champion possible, right? Because he just throws bombs, he speeds everyone up.
It even gives them extra levels.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you make use of that passive, which as the game progresses, kind of becomes irrelevant. And the Pirates' composition, while not bad in the late game, because I do feel like they scale similarly well to the Invincibles, but the Invincibles have a very cut and dry comp. You have your front line of Urgot, Jarvan goes in, Tahm Kench keeps Kai'Sa alive, and then Orianna has a couple of ways to deliver a ball. It's just very straightforward. You can play some nice front-to-back team fights. If you fall a little bit behind, you can build Jarvan tank here, you know. Like, there are a couple of ways you can play, but it's really straightforward. While at the other end, Hecarim, if he falls behind, he's still going to do damage, but he's not going to be that devastating pony that everyone's so afraid of. Nidalee, kind of the same. If you get hit, those spears are devastating. Just the entire comp from the Pirates, because they don't really have a front line. If they fall behind, they're going to have a really hard time. So the pressure is on for the Pirates, although the Sivir, the Zilean, they're still going to scale well, but that comp is going to be so much harder to execute.
It does feel like Pirates are slightly snowball or die as this game is going on. The Preston Invincibles, like you say, they've got the beginnings of the making of a protect the ADC composition. Obviously didn't go fully into this, taking the Jarvan and the Urgot, which are kind of almost ball delivery systems, especially the Jarvan. But you know, they've got the Orianna shields, they've got the Tahm Kench, who's also taking cleanse to further protect the Kai'Sa, and if she can get anywhere near the late game, she'll be ripping through a lot of people. Of course, you have to factor in Sivir boomerangs as well. But for me, as the game goes later and later, if it's close, I feel like the Invincibles have the edge with that composition.
Yeah, and unfortunately for the Pirates, they do have a composition which, especially in the top half of the map, is capable of snowballing, right? Because Hecarim, once he gets ahead, is an absolute nuisance to play against. Urgot just on the receiving end of some nerfs, while Hecarim is arguably in a stronger place as he's been in quite a while in the top lane. The combination of like the Conqueror changes and the just hit buff that he got recently on his Rampage makes him quite a foe to be reckoned with. And Hecarim is one of these champions that, same with Nidalee, once they get ahead, you just don't get any time in that lane anymore, because he's going to sustain for everything that you do. He's going to pull out so much damage, and the threat of backline dive is always going to be there. And Nidalee, well, I mean, if you've ever played against Nidalee and she gets ahead,
it's not a fun time.
You know how not fun that is? And Shaven Tortoise is really that on Nidalee. The Rengar got banned away, but Nidalee's his second most played, and I think he's still going to have a great performance on that.
So you talk there about how scary it is to play against Nidalee, especially Shaven Tortoise's Nidalee, if it gets ahead. Another champion that same can be said for is the Jarvan as well, and if he's able to make the early game plays and become impactful, it could really become an early game battle of which jungler has the better impact. I'm really looking at that top lane where there's no flash on the Hecarim.
Yeah, I think that Hakarim, especially if they keep track of pathing with Nidalee, they kind of should be able to, because she's so mobile, right? And she should, if she doesn't get flagged and dragged on, which again, don't expect Shaven Tortoise to have happened to him, should always have the upper hand for at least up until level 6. And it is kind of custom to just go for Teleport Ignite, because Hakarim is so incredibly mobile in of itself that it's really hard to gank him, because as soon as he gets his E, he just, yeets out of every situation that seems remotely scary. And the only thing that...
Is that the technical term, yeets out of the situation?
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry, I'd missed that one. I should have known.
That's okay. You're a little bit older, Stan, so...
A little bit.
I forgive you.
Like twice your age.
And more importantly, what we see here is that if that Hakarim gets ahead, the only thing that can really lock him down besides the flag and drag is the disdain from Urgot, and hitting that on a Hakarim is just going to be tough, right? So there is some opportunity, but even in the early levels, the risk of it, because you're going to lose that 2v2, I think, every time, especially with Urgot being somewhat neutered. Like, once he hits his new Purge, right, once he's at level 9, level 11, he's still going to do quite good, but I think he's more scaling now as opposed to previously as identity as a real lane bully. So I think that the early game should be in the hand of the Pirates here.
Okay, game has loaded up. The teams are out of the fountain. They've made their early purchases, and they are getting onto the rift, spreading themselves out defensively, as we have seen so many times across this split. Very few teams opting for the early invades.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
And here Kai'Sa and Tarm both sporting their favourite skins coming into this game. It's going to be
nice.
The Prestige Kai'Sa.
That's the only real one if you're a Kai'Sa player, right? I don't think I've ever seen a Kai'Sa player without it. Like, if they played in a competitive level, you gotta wonder how much time and blood, sweat and tears went to acquiring that skin.
That is Prestige, and it's not just regular KDA. I'm not imagining things. No, that's not Prestige. It's not gold enough.
Yeah.
That's a real disappointment.
You tricked me.
Not a real not a real Kai'Sa player is what you're telling me.
Oh, you tricked me.
Bamboozled again.
As always. This is how it goes with the predictions as well, right? You say something, I'm like, yeah, I think that can happen. And you're like,
haha, well.
Oh, yeah, you were wrong. And I'm like, wait, but Stan, you were wrong. Like, no, you were Chronicler. And I'm just sat here contemplating life, as I'm sure what's going to happen if Shaven Tortoise fights his way into Jacko's jungle. Whether or not that's actually going to happen remains to be seen, as we see some early trades going down, and Divine is taking a little bit of a hit, but nothing too scary as of yet.
Slow, steady start for both teams. Both the junglers going to their red buffs, and that's going to mean that the two-person lane of Sivir and Galio going straight down early on. T helped out Shaven Tortoise and took a real chunk of damage from Niangi as a result of helping out his jungler with that buff.
And a little bit risky there by Niangi, because if he would have gotten engaged on the Shaven Tortoise, would have made his way immediately. Might have actually paid dearly there, but instead he's able to just get a corrupting charge in and walk out without so much as an issue. You see the phase rush in for Splaff as well, so he's really playing safe, right? Like, a lot of mobility, the cleanse as well. He really just wants to scale into this mid game, into this late game, where once Fu starts to be able to, pick up that Storm Razor, which I assume is going to be going first, into a Gunblade, and that, or a Rage Blade, and then go from there. And then once those item spikes are hit, you can really get something going, and we might have a first fight on our hands here.
Shaven Tortoise gets caught out by the flag and drag, swaps over to Cougar form, trying to dash away, uses the smite to get himself some health, flashes. Now does he have the W available? The leap is there. Shaven Tortoise escapes, but only for so long, because here comes Niangi on the Urgot, picking up first blood.
And that's unfortunate. T also not able to follow there. Flash is used by Niangi, and Shaven Tortoise was, I think, able to pick up that. Was able to pick up the Scuttle Crab. A little bit confused there. And that's going to help him out a lot. He's still going to be kind of in an awkward position, as his Raptors will be taken, but it's mostly T who is in an unfortunate position now. As we see Diviners, Jacko actually doesn't have a lot of mana, so Diviners can tag him here a little bit, and not too much is gained from that.
Jacko maybe just getting a little bit greedy going in. Meanwhile, speaking of going in, it's going to be T who steps up to Niangi, trying to get the damage down. The flip is there from Niangi, and it's just a straight trade of damage. This is a duel to the death, and it is the death of the Urgot. T responding, evening out the kills. Portsmouth Pirates back in the game again.
And you might think about taking that trade there, but against a level 4 Hakarim, Shaven Tortoise again is getting a rough go here.
This is really early grouping from both teams, and this is going to be Niangi teleporting in, looking for T immediately. No Ignite available now for the Hecarim. There's a lot of damage for him, though. He's just dashing forward, and he's just got himself 2 kills in a minute.
So as I was saying, this is not old Urgot, where you can tank a turret shot and just whiff it off like it's nothing. You're at an Ignite and Summon at your disadvantage because of the fact that you don't have your flash available because you used it. And even with red buff, Niangi 2 times in a row really overestimating his own damage, underestimating the healing that comes up from T's W and from the Conqueror. And now all of a sudden a situation that was kind of advantageous for him. He has no teleport anymore, what T still does. He is 14 CS behind and T has 2 kills, so his back is going to be absolutely monstrous. And the early grouping, which was good because it secured bot side scuttle for the Invincibles, didn't find that much more. So now we're in a situation where, despite the first blood, Pirates are in a good spot.
Yeah, at this point you've got to think that T is in comms going, it's alright guys, I'm fed. And this is the one champion who you were talking about in Champ Select that you said you just can't afford for that to be the case because he's going to be such a bully to this Urgot.
Not only to Urgot, but I think that Jacko in particular needs to be really careful about his topside jungle, who, be mindful of you, due to all these little skirmishes, he's not been able to clear his topside. So if Shaven Tortoise makes his way in there with the priority that you're going to have on the basis of T being so strong, I would not be surprised to see them go for something. If they killed Niangi, which just looked like what they're setting up with Shaven Tortoise moving in for a lane gank there, that could also go really alright. And don't forget, Niangi has no summoners available.
T, on the other hand, does still have the teleport available. He's got himself the Phage completed in comparison to just the parts of it that are on Niangi. As you say, Shaven Tortoise is in the bush. He is lurking. If he were to land a spear, it could mean the demise of Niangi. The spear lands, in dashes the Cougar. It's the pony and the Cougar taking down the monstrous Urgot. The crab is dead. Long live the pony.
I don't even know if that would have worked, even if
A
Shaven
1v1.
Tortoise wouldn't have been there, because the Phage has just been finished on T, and he's just incredibly strong. Now Jacko needs to come here topside. His Grump has not yet been taken. It shows because he was supposed to kind of get an advantage over Shaven Tortoise. Now, with a nice Justice Punch there, but this is what the Tom Kench does, right? Make sure that these trades don't really matter too much. But the problem is that Jarvan is still going to be a little bit more comfortable scaling into the mid game because once you get Cataclysm, it's a huge power spike. Well, for Nidalee, you know, she's going to do well for like the next 5 to 6, 7 levels, but then she's really going to start falling off already. And the Invincibles, that's good, but you should have an advantage here because you were able to get an early kill on the Nidalee and it's just not enough.
Yet again, the taunt is going to land on Alpha Chinchilla. Oliver is going to eat up some damage on the backside of it, but it's Alpha Chinchilla who is unable to eat up any target so far. Still looking for that key Devour.
And the defensive Devours are fine as man, Oliver is really aggressive with his Justice Punch, and I love it as well because it seems to be working out in terms of harassment, because Fuse mana bar is very low, while if there was a gank being set up by Shaven Tortoise is making a way down the mid lane now, they might actually be able to pull something up while Fuyu is really low in mana. But Jacko also in the vicinity picking up his own red buff.
If you are just joining us on the stream, you can see from the top that we have got the Preston Invincibles against the Portsmouth Pirates, and it's the Portsmouth Pirates who dash in. Oliver playing so very aggressive, flashing himself out, but he's got the Ignite down on top of him. Shaven Tortoise is able to pick up 1 kill. He dashes forward. He might be able to get 2. Perhaps he passes this one on to his ADC. Rhydona gets his first kill of the game on the Sivir, and that is 2 kills. Easy as you like for the Portsmouth Pirates, who have themselves a 1,500 gold lead.
And all of a sudden the Pirates really showing why they're so feared. Jacko not making his way down to bot side, not able to really find anything there as he was in a position to make it work. Shaven Tortoise also made his way throughout the entirety of the river. Now Sheen is picked up, so Niangi really needs to be careful here. Goes for the Disdain, but I don't think you're getting away there.
Finally T opts into the teleport, this time deciding not to go for the full aggression against Niangi.
Has no ultimate available. I was wondering about why is he not going in, but
a lack of Onslaught of Shadows will negate some of what Hecarim is going to do. I was just saying there how, you know, we're watching these two teams going up against each other. This is the Belong Arena Clash semi-final. Both these teams, they are playing off for a place on the stage of the Grand Finals, which will be held at Insomnia, and it so far has been a game that's been going in favour of Portsmouth Pirates. They are the team who have more wins in this competition than any other team put together.
I think the Claymores are the only ones that are still matching, but you mean like actual titles?
The actual titles,
yeah,
they've got 5. I mean, I don't think anyone gets near that.
They're very far ahead. And we're seeing it here as well. What's interesting to me is that we see that Divinus is kind of falling behind against the Double Doran's Orianna. Splav doing a great job here, but you know, like 5 CS, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, falling behind. In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter because all you get the Zillion for is just to throw a Guardian Angel on Rhydona once he becomes relevant. Maybe on T, you know, in your upcoming team fights, because What's interesting to me is that we saw there was an early advantage for the Invincibles, and it was just turned around so fast just on the basis of like an individual matchup, and that's what really scares me, because it wasn't necessarily like Shaven Tortoise had a nice gank as well, but it was a double kill just giving up by Niangi, who I think is going to get taken down here again.
He may well. He uses his flash trying to get away, and that's going to be enough to send Shaven Tortoise backing off. Nidalee, however, landing these spears on a regular basis and really making life hell for this top player.
And Shaven Tortoise making a bad situation worse for Niangi, and the Invincibles, even though they know where Shaven Tortoise is, are not really able to find anything on the back of it. They can't make a play here, as they know, on this Ocean Dragon, because their bot lane doesn't have priority, and we see Radona and Oliver are constantly roaming into the river to make sure that specifically that doesn't happen, as they now place a control ward there. Niangi needs to give up so much creeps there because he knows that Shaven Tortoise is still in the area, and the Portsmouth Pirates are just... they're really eking out this advantage, and I think once we're going to get these first couple of team fights around, say, a Rift Tower, around the Dragon, and we're really going to see those advantages come into fruition, because a 2k gold lead at 10 minutes, not bad.
As you say, 10 minutes now on the clock, and things looking good for the Portsmouth Pirates. It's becoming a little bit of a vision game around the river, and Jacko doing his very best to clear out everything that the red side team are putting down, but there's only so long you can do that for before you get caught again.
And we see now the rotation coming through as Blue Buff will be picked up by Divinus. The teleport lead is also something I've already talked about yet, but it's going to mean that in late game, the Portsmouth Pirates are going to be really hard to deal with, because the disengage that you have with a Galio in front and then on the hunt and a Zilean is an absolute nuisance to deal with. And yeah, the actual speed up is just going to be so annoying to deal with a lot of ways, as we see in top lane. See, yeah, even if he eats it this Dania, I don't think you're going to get the better end of that trade, especially if you tank a turret shot there.
Niangi does have the does not have the Fear Beyond Death available, having just used it and not getting T low enough. This is going to lead straight away to more vision being cleared around the Dragon, and it feels like every single time there's a chance for Preston Invincibles to get some of this pressure back, it's just not working out for them.
And it's also because of good wave management from T, as he does get a little bit low down, and we see Jacko showing up there, but this means free Ocean Dragon getting picked up there. If they don't find a kill on T, which it doesn't look like they will be able to, especially with Onslaught of Shadow still available, then it's just a free Ocean break.
And this is the difference between where these two teams are at the moment. Shaven Tortoise kept showing in top lane, but because of the lack of pressure, especially in the bot lane, there was nothing Jacko could do to take away that objective. Meanwhile, one time Jacko goes up to the top lane, not even able to use that Cataclysm secure a kill onto T, and boom, Ocean Dragon over to the Pirates, and suddenly their sustaining lane has just got even better.
And now they have an Ocean Dragon, which is already good in the early game. They have a Triforce finished on T, so he's going to be an absolute nightmare. Runic Echoes is finished for Shaven Tortoise, so his spears are about to be incredibly strong. Roll of Ages is hit on Divinus, and we didn't even see a team fight here, but I think even if we would have had one, the Portsmouth Pirates are now hitting all their spikes. I think the only one that they haven't hit is the bot lane spike, but Rhydona is going to be early with that as well, as we see another engagement coming through here, but the Justice Punch is not found.
Yeah, more damage actually put onto Oliver than to anybody else there. Galio playing so bold, but the few times that he's done it, he's managed to stay safe, he's managed to help his team get kills, so I feel like his team is going to be saying worth.
And Splash, Shaven Tortoise already picked up the red buff.
Shaven Tortoise landing that spear, forcing the flash. The Orianna Shockwave is going to come through, but Splash is in so much trouble. If that last spear had landed, it would have been a dead Orianna. In the end, it's going to be a dead Orianna anyway, because Zilean able to get that final little bit of damage. Meanwhile, the Onslaught of Shadows is going to send Niangi fleeing. It's going to send him back to the fountain. The grey screen for the Preston Invincibles top laner, and 2 quick kills for the Pirates.
Shaven Tortoise only had to invest his flash there, and they're going to pick up 2 kills. I get they had to use the Hero's Entrance as well, so that's a valid argument, but they get a Rift Herald basically for free. And this pressure from the Portsmouth Pirates is now really starting to show, because that play also comes to fruition because there's no vision in the bot side jungle. Shaven Tortoise first takes the red from Jacko, and we see that even though he got first blooded because he was not really counting on an aggressive early play, and he did get caught in the flag and drag, as I mentioned previously. Something that I didn't expect to happen. Happened the moment they got into game, which is quite funny at the first start of fight. Exactly. But now he's almost 30 CS up just because of this aggressive counter jungling, and because of the fact that on top side, the Invincibles just can't match them. And now their Rift Herald gets some. It's a pre-13-minute Herald, so I think they're going to be able to just get the charge off, meaning they will get these plates.
One of my favourite quotes about any champion ever was something that Rush said about Nidalee, which is, if you can't dodge a Nidalee Spear, you must be playing without a mouse. Well, Splath needs to have his mouse put back in at the Belong Arena in Preston, because right now he is eating every single spear to the face, and even though that first turret is not going to drop, so much plating has gone over to the Pirates that they've now found themselves a 4,000 gold lead.
And with a comp like this, that's an absolute nightmare, right? Because if they don't get ahead, then come mid-game, it's just a Hacker that's going to get blown up the moment he tries to jump in. A Nidalee that doesn't really do that much, and you're not going to be at the point where Sivir really becomes relevant, because an IE is nice, but this is not the power spike that Rhydona's looking for. You know, you like looking 2 items further, you know, maybe a Shiv or a rapid fire cannon, and then you can start looking at actually becoming a really big threat. You just haven't reached that yet, but it doesn't matter with how far T is ahead already. Divinus is slightly behind, but the kill pretty much evens it out. As we see Jacko, maybe he can finally get a turnaround here. That would be so good for the Preston Invincibles.
Let's see whether or not Preston Invincibles pull the trigger. It looks like they're happy to wait. We have got T waiting in the wings, and if Hecarim with that Onslaught of Shadows were to come in and turn this fight into a 3 versus 3, it feels like it would have gone pretty badly for the Preston Invincibles. So it feels like discretion was the better part of Valor here. They decide to back away. Meanwhile, Fuyu has now got that Storm Razor completed, is still keeping ahead on CS and staying relevant in the game, but it's nothing in comparison to the Sivir's IE.
And they engage here.
It's going to be the taunt, not quite landing because the flash away from Alpha Chinchilla, but in dashes T. He's going to go straight on to the Alpha Chinchilla, who had eaten up Jacko. It's going to be Tahm Kench dying, paying for the sins of Jacko with his life. Now Jacko completely caught between a rock and a hard place, lays down the Cataclysm. Is it going to be enough? No, it's not, because that is going to be Zilean Ultimate on top of the Nidalee, just as I thought he'd managed to make the play. Meanwhile, T goes a little bit deep. Fear Beyond Death is going to pull him to his demise, and it's going to be Hecarim who dies to the Urgot, who has got his second kill of the game. He has 100% of his team's kills. Unfortunately, he almost has 50% of his team's deaths as the first turret goes down.
Is that a ratio you're going to be happy with? I don't think so, considering what we saw T just do to the entire bot side of the Preston Invincibles. This, what I was saying, what I was worried about is if the Hacarim gets ahead, he's going to do what you just saw. He's just going to charge in, and yes, eventually we see that the Pirates overstay a little bit. We see a really nice turn coming out from Jacko, you know, nice flag and drag and the Cataclysm. But then you have Zilean who says, well, I don't really care about you killing one person. And eventually we see T getting drawn back into the meat grinder, and that's nice. It's a good shutdown, but it's just not nearly enough. There's still the first turret blood getting picked up on. There's still a favourable trade in the number of kills that the Portsmouth Pirates get, and the pressure is still so much there. And the Invincibles having a hard time in this first game.
Black Cleaver is now completed for the Urgot on the back of getting that shut down, but look at his lane opposition, who is 30 CS ahead, 5-1-1 on the Hecarim. He's got the Trinity Force, he's almost got all the parts of his Sterix Gauge complete, and he is just happy to fight for days. T once again looking for Niangi, going to throw down the Onslaught of Shadows. That one is flashed away from, but Urgot won't have that Summoner up for a few minutes. Meanwhile, the Dragon easily being secured by the Pirates, as they get the mid lane turret as well.
And now everything's just crumbling for the Invincibles, because what they now need to try and do is to manage the threat. But you have 2 Ocean Drakes, you have the poke from a Zilean Nidalee Sivir coming out, you have quite a sizable front line as well, because with how far ahead T is, he's also going to be relatively tanky on the back of just the Sterix Gauge that's about to be finished, and the sustain that he gets from Conqueror and his W. And then you also have the Zilean Ultimate. You have Galio, who's just incredibly strong. There's just so much to chew through. And I think that the Preston Invincibles, they have good wave clear, right? They have the Orianna, Urgot can wave clear okay. Kai'Sa, it's a little bit risky, but there are some possibilities, right? But I think you're just gonna have to give up every single objective, and now we see what the Pirates do. They take control of your jungle, they start to take all the neutral objectives. The outer ring of turrets has already been completely demolished. I think they're going to get started on inners now, and once those start falling, I feel like the Invincibles are just going to be too far behind to really get anything done.
It feels like you take a really perfect team fight, maybe the 4K Elo Shockwave to save the game, but at the moment it is the Portsmouth Pirates who are just taking every little bit of the base of the Invincibles that they want to. 4 turrets to 0 is now the turret kill score. Meanwhile, 9-2 is the deaths of the champions. Now it looks like they're going to turn their attention towards the mid lane. They want it to be 5-0 on those turrets.
And there's still some capabilities, because he says Shaven Tortoise incredibly squishy.
Zilean ult again used on Nidalee, bringing her back to life, and that's going to mean that Hecarim's able to jump himself on top of the Kaiser. Meanwhile, Nidalee takes down Tahm Kench, Zilean takes down Jarvan. It's a 3-4-0. Only the Zilean ult had to be used to save the life of the Portsmouth Pirates. Now they get themselves a turret, they can continue their push. Shaven Tortoise has no fear, he just keeps on dashing forward. It's not going to be the Fear Beyond Death trigger just yet. It's going to be... No, it times out. I thought that he was going to be able to get onto Shaven Tortoise, but I think it was body blocked, maybe by T.
I think he was hit by it, but he healed himself back up, and he was just able to say, well, I'm healed. I'm not underneath 25% anymore.
So I feel like I should know the answer to this question, but what happens if the Fear Beyond Death pulls back someone who's got a Zilean ult on top of them?
They just get resurrected.
Resurrected, but on top of the Urgot?
On top of the
Urgot. So they get pulled back.
Pulled in.
Okay.
Which in this situation, and it's so hard for me because you want to get excited when you see Shaven Tortoise. He takes a bunch of poke from Splaff, he gets taken down, but the shockwave gets used, and from that moment there's a Zilean ultimate there, right? They just use it because they see he's going down, the hero's entrance come down immediately, Oliver gets a knock up, Shaven Tortoise just comes back into the fight, and then you still have Rodona, you still have T, you still have Divinus, who put up so much damage here. And I feel like you say, I think the only real opportunity you're going to find now is a Baron overextension from the Pirates, because you still have a incredibly spooky Baron, right? That Shockwave Cataclysm is a combination that's never going to lose its allure, but you don't have a Rage Blade yet, right? So you'll Tahm Kench isn't doing that much. He's tanking a little bit of damage, but who he's eating isn't really doing all that much yet. He's just an Oblivion Orb on Splaff as well, and... yeah, if you eat up someone who doesn't do that much, you don't feel as good about as protecting him. I guess Tahm Kench is going to be happy with it, but like in the grand scheme of things, within the game,
I love the way you said that. It made it sound like TK should be building a Rage Blade, and I was like, I want to see that now.
It's not what I meant, but
someone called
there
Watley.
was actually in the Korean Challenger Team Barbecue actually went for a Tahm Kench jungle and they won their game.
There you go. Did he have a Rage Blade?
I do not think he had a Rage Blade, but yeah, because you get the on hit, so you get your Devour quicker. There's something there.
Absolutely.
On hit Tahm Kench, top lane.
Let's see it in the next game. Come on, Pirates, make it happen for us.
I want to see Mundo jungle.
I know you want to see Mundo jungle, but you also, every time you tell me this, tell me that you don't want anyone to know about Mundo jungle.
Correct.
So,
but I feel like if we were going to see it, then it would become more like it's incredibly strong. Like I'm going to give this information up for free.
This
now,
is a freebie,
even
guys.
though they don't want me to do this. Fleetfoot with Mundo, it's actually busted. I saw it in the in my own competitive scene, as I of course hail from the lovely, I guess, east. Technically, Netherlands is the east for you guys.
Central
right?
Europe, I guess, is it? I don't know.
I mean, yeah, it's like northwestern Europe, but it's to the east of the UK, which is kind of what I was going for.
Okay.
You're cute, small eastern neighbours.
We are cute.
With a bunch of cities that no one knows, and Amsterdam. As the Baron gets started here, and Mundo jungle incredibly strong. For this game, I don't think it would have mattered even if we had seen Jackal on that, because the Portsmouth Pirates, a dominating performance. I gotta say, I was impressed, but there is still that possibility for the overextension, and it seems like they know that.
They respected that so very well. The standard came over from Jarvan, and straight away the Pirates went disengage, forced them off, don't do anything stupid. They have no interest in throwing this game.
Especially since it seems like T has just taken Infernal Dragon on his own. And why would he not? Yeah. Shaven Tortoise making his way over. Just keep stacking these dragons, keep picking up these neutral objectives. And yeah, as we said, there is always the opportunity for the Shockwave, for the Kaiser to pop off, who now has finished the Rage Blade, but it's just, as long as the Pirates don't allow that to happen, I don't think the Invisibles can come back in this game.
T going once more on the Angie. We have seen this one play out a fair few times. This time it's a slightly closer trade. Urgot is getting himself to a point where he can at least absorb some of the damage, having got himself the Glacial Shroud on top of the Ninja Tabbies, but he's still losing out when he goes up against the Hecarim. Both of those top laners do have teleport available, would be able to join any key Baron fights. Having resecured vision, the Pirates have decided they're going to just back off for now.
And I like that, as we said previously. I think that if the Pirates play this game up perfectly from here on out, assuming they close in, say, the next 10 minutes, they're going to have a surefire win on their hands. And it seems like they know that as well, which is why they play so cautiously. They need to find a fine line in between that, though. Getting these bombs on Jacko is a good way to start, because look at that burst coming down. He's going for the aggressive Jarvan build with Electrocute, with Warriors, and it's really showing him.
Boo decides to see what he can do to the Hecarim, and with the ultimate coming through from the Orianna, the answer was actually quite a lot. The Onslaught of Shadows
Look
used
at Jacko's
purely
health.
for T to dash away, but at the end of the day, it's yet again the Pirates who turn the damage straight back on, and now with the jungler clearly having to recall, having eaten such a crazy
Shockwave
chunk
getting
of
used
health,
as well.
it's gonna be a really, really difficult Baron for the side of the Invincibles to try and contest. Here comes the teleport. This is gonna be T coming into the fight. There's gonna be a flash taunt landing onto both the Urgot and onto the Tahm Kench. Damage coming through from T as he chases down Fuyu. The Ignite is burning, but so far the Kai'Sa is living. Tahm Kench not so lungy. Neither is Niangi, though both of those champions are going to die. And now we are going to see with Jarvan back, this is slightly more difficult, but the Preston Invincibles are -2 members. So here go the Portsmouth Pirates. They go straight back into the Baron, and it looks like the Invincibles are going to let them have it.
The thing about the Baron here from the Pirates is that it's very slow. They don't have Health Shred, they don't have a Mountain Dragon, and that's why the Invincibles keep trying arresting here. And that Shockwave is available!
Jacko decides to go for the flag and drag. He goes for the flash into the Baron pit, but it is just not quite going to work out for him. He almost turned that into a 50-50 opportunity, a really bold effort, but at the end of the day, the Baron is secured by the Portsmouth Pirates. Shaven Tortoise and the crew now able to run down mid lane with this Baron-empowered cannon minion, and now they're going to look to crush these inhibitors down.
I love what they went for there, because I feel like if you give this Baron up, as we're going to see now, I think you're not going to stay in this game for much longer as the Baron minions come and knocking at your door. And we saw the Shockwave, we saw Jacko try and go in for the steal, and that's what you have to try in this scenario, because you're already so far behind. But Jacko is 3 levels behind as Shaven Tortoise, so in no situation should that ever be stolen there. And Portsmouth Pirates say, you know, it's not going to get stolen. It doesn't. They get the Baron, they get the kills, and no matter how well the Invincibles try to claw their way back through that avenue, now the 10k got behind, and they need a miracle to stay in this game.
Yeah, it's a shame we couldn't quite see the health on the Baron as that one went down, because it would have been really nice to see just how close Jacko got. I'm pretty sure I saw the smite coming down from the sky. I assume it was just that tiny little bit too early, but meanwhile we are going to see that first inhibitor of the game crush down in mid lane. Blink and you miss it, but T used his Onslaught of Shadows near Kai'Sa, and instantly the flash of respect. T now perhaps might be in a little trouble himself. No flash to get himself out of the Cataclysm. The Onslaught of Shadows not available. The dash forward from T is absolutely perfect, taking Jacko with him, but now Killer Instinct from Kai'Sa is going to be enough to get the kill onto their Hecarim. A big shutdown, some gold into the pocket of the ADC of the Preston Invincibles.
And I like this, but simultaneously I don't, because they use a Killer Instinct, the Tahm Kench ultimate, the Voyage, and they use the Cataclysm.
Yep.
Just to take down T, who is going to be back in 25 seconds, and then you're going to miss all these cooldowns for your next team fight, which you're going to need because your inhibitors are getting pushed in. So, and this is the problem, like the Invincibles don't really have a choice. They need to get these kills, they need to get these shutdowns, they need to try and find a way back into this game, but with how much resources they need to invest just to get something done versus what the Pirate needs to do, is there's such a big disparity here, and it's going to make it so much harder, as I think that back almost got cancelled there by the bomb.
That would have been
which would have been really funny. Yeah, very unfortunate, but very funny for us, which is what I always like as a cast. You know, like we're not the ones on the receiving end of what I've heard it as the Preston Invincibles are, and the Preston Invincibles are still in this game, and if they can hold on with their fairly limited wave clears, mostly centered around Splash, because you need to get so far forward, they can actually still make this work, as their team fights and the ease with which they can execute this composition in the late game is incredible. But with how far ahead they currently are, I'm having a hard time seeing it, and we need to look at these shockwaves from Splash.
A nice reset of the waves later, and most of those ultimate cooldowns are now back for the side of Preston Invincibles. They still don't have the flash or the heal available on Fuyu, so they do have to be very, very careful if they want to keep their ADC alive for any period of time in this fight. But at the very least, they have got themselves an opportunity to try and defend. Maybe just one more fight where if they turn things around, possibly there is still a small sliver of hope for Preston.
Because they get one, say they get one ace, right? Like a 3-for-5 trade, where Fuyu stays alive, picks up a couple of kills. Like, this is something that can happen, and then all of a sudden you're looking at, say, a 5k gold lead, which is surmountable with the composition that you have here. But they need to actually fund the third Ocean Dragon is about to get picked up. So if we ever get that Elder Dragon picked up, which you could argue that maybe the Pirates want to wait a little bit longer so they actually get that Elder spawn on the next one, because now it's going to be 10 minutes, which is by which time you already want to have won the game. So you could make an argument that if they wait a minute and a half here, they can pick that up, and then still get 3 Oceans and a Infernal, and then at 35 minutes have a backup plan. They're saying, no, we're not gonna wait. We're just gonna take it right now, and we're just going to push on through, which I think is fine, because just don't give the Invincibles too much time.
I feel sorry a little bit for the Preston Invincibles, because during Champ Select we talked about if you got sort of round about this time in the game, that actually if they'd stayed anywhere near even, their team composition should really have a great opportunity to take team fights. But unfortunately for them, the Pirates played that mid-game so very well. They took the small lead that they had and they turned into a very, very big gold lead, so that we're now at 10,000, 4 Dragons, 7 turrets to 0, Inhibitor down in the mid lane, and right now for the Preston Invincibles we're talking as if there is no hope. But
there's one team fight.
But Mao, I will tell you right now, I cast a game on Sunday, another semi-final of another event that was going on, and I have never seen such a big throw in competitive play in all my life. And that's all it would take. One overstep, or 2 maybe, from the Pirates, and the Invincibles could be right back in this with a big team fighting composition.
I agree. It's one good team fight. The problem is that finding that good team fight against a Galio, against a Zilean, is an absolute nightmare, because those 2 champions are so good at disrupting what you want to do here, which is kill the big threats. Because if you kill them, they're going to come back, as Chi has finished his Ghostblade now. Lich Bane is finished as well on Shaven Tortoise, and there's just so many items here now with the Essence Reaver on Rhydona that I think that Baron is going to go down a lot faster as well.
And it doesn't hurt when that Zilean who's keeping people alive and disrupting fights also has an absolute gigaton of damage himself. The Rabadons, the Ludens, the fully stacked Rod of Ages to go on top of the Sork Boots.
That's painful. Like get hit by 2 bombs.
I think he's gone Lucidity Boots just to give him a bit of a rest.
Which is fair, because then you can use your ultimate more often. So I don't dislike that direction. And I'm kind of at the state of the game currently, kind of questioning Jacko's decision to really opt into this damage Jarvan. Because it's making it so hard to engage.
And yet he goes for the engage. Jacko diving in, going for the Cataclysm. Unfortunately, he's going to find a Galio landing on his head, and that is why he is in a lot of trouble. However, Shaven Tortoise is going to get shut down. No Zilean ultimate on top of him. Niangi so very, very low, but he's alive, and the Hecarim is not. The double kill going in favour of the Urgot. Sivir on the backside does manage to take down Tahm Kench. So far a 2-for-1, but Kai'Sa takes down the Galio, making it a 3-for-1 in favour of the Preston Invincibles. With the Baron having just spawned, this is the fight that the Preston Invincibles needed. However, the Portsmouth Pirates have got themselves the line on the Inhibitor, and so instead of having to be able to turn onto the Baron, the Preston Invincibles instead have to look to catch out Divinus. Zilean speeding himself up, trying to get away from Fuyu, who does not have the killer instinct available, not able to dash to the Zilean. Meanwhile, teleport coming in. That is going to be the Urgot running straight head forwards towards the Sivir, but I think Sivir and Zilean are going to get themselves out of dodge. Finally, however, a fight won for the Invincibles.
And that was just an incredibly messy fight from the Pirates, where Shaven Tortoise getting taken down is one thing, but then afterwards I feel like the communication was really off, where we have Oliver kind of tanking 3 people, relying on T and Shaven Tortoise, but Shaven Tortoise gets taken down and T gets taken down relatively quick, so then you just have Divinus and Rhydona trying to make their mark there. There was a lot invested though from the Invincibles, and there's still a almost 7k gold lead, so this was a really good play from the Invincibles. I feel they need one more. If they can get one more fight like this, if the Portsmouth Pirates again kind of split up, get one of their big carries taken out, because that bounty on Shaven Tortoise has now gone the way of the Invincibles, and Rhydona gets taken down, then they can actually make it work. But those things need to happen here.
But even in defeat, let's show the love to the Pirates, because they cleverly decided to run themselves towards that Inhibitor, which meant the Invincibles had to turn away from the Baron. You know, a lot of players there, they just go, oh, we've survived this fight, let's back, let's do our recall. But by showing in the mid lane, forcing the Invincibles essentially to have to chase them, they stop a Baron going down, which would have been an even bigger win for the Preston squad. Instead, it's now Preston who find themselves locked down by that massive damage coming through from the Death Cap Zilean. Now T dashes in, goes golden. Look how low Alpha Chinchilla is. That bomb's going to pop him down. Now we can see Kai'Sa turn damage back onto Hecarim, but already Shaven Tortoise making Jacko disappear from existence, and that means that only the Pirates have themselves a jungler, and with Baron on the table, that's bad news for Preston.
No Shockwave available, only the Killer Instinct, so Fuyu and Splash need to find a miracle here to make it work. The sustain is there, and what I'm really wondering about, as we see that Baron is already at the half health and is going to get taken down here shortly, is that this time, even though T goes down pretty much at the beginning of that fight, we see with his build, it's kind of what he's going for, with a nice stopwatch as well to draw out successfully Niangi's Fear Beyond Death, which then doesn't hit. there's so much pressure, and the Engie just gets taken down. I'm not sure what he was doing there. But more importantly, what we see here from T, by going for the Ghostblade there, instead of a Guardian Angel, which is what you could also argue that would have been a good idea, he's kind of committing to either I'm going to dive in, because I'm Hecarim, and I'm going to get resurrected by Zilean, or I'm going to dive in, and I'm going to die. And what we saw there, he dies, but he deals so much damage, he draws out so much ultimates, and the rest of his team says, well, Jarvan is here, he's not really a big threat, we take him down. And the same is said for Alpha Chinchilla and for you. You just need to respect the threat that the Pirates pull out. It's a 2-for-1 trade, and that's all you really need as the Pirates, because you're so far ahead. As they now also pick up a Mountain Dragon, they have the Baron buff, and the Invincibles, they're still hanging by a threat, but now the gold lead is again 10k.
And also you've got that further problem now that even though your inhibitors now respawned, you're up against the Baron minions, you're probably going to lose at least one inhibitor here. Even if they do manage to see themselves through another 5 minutes of this game and they get stronger in their team composition, they start to get to 6 items, there's going to be an Elder Dragon spawning, which Pirates are probably going to be able to secure with 5 dragons. But look at this, this is going to be the Cataclysm going in, but Oliver already taking down the Jarvan. This feels like a do-or-die scenario for the side of the Invincibles. They seem to have selected die because Civ has picked up 1 kill. It's going to be Fear Beyond Death pulling in the Galio, but Ollie is just the support in this game. The mid lane inhibitor drops down for the 2nd time in this matchup, and now we're going to see Portsmouth Pirates taking themselves a 2nd inhibitor. That one in the top lane is now gone, and now we've got a massive wave of cannon siege minions just absolutely demolishing Nexus turrets.
Incoming. I mean, that's what's happening here. Look at all those cannon minions.
This is super over. And now we're going to see the close of game 1.
Look at them
Pirates,
go.
35 minutes, perhaps slightly longer than they would have liked to take to close out game 1 of this series, but they do indeed take it. They find themselves the edge against the Invincibles.
I was so impressed, so incredibly impressed by Oliver's play there, because that final team fight, not only does it, so what he does, he taunts away the Jarvan, he completely zones out a lot of damage, and then when the big shockwaves hits and he recognizes that Fiyu is going to go in with the killer instinct, Radona and Shaven Tortoise were really low, but he goes for the hero's entrance, hits the knock-up, and that might have been a turnaround there, because if that backline gets shredded by the Kai'Sa, you know, she can go invisible, she has the shield from the killer instinct, they might have actually been able to turn that around, because there was, again, an amazing shockwave from Splaff, and I wouldn't mind seeing an Orianna ban here, but all in all, Radona, perfect game, didn't die, Divinus, perfect game, didn't die. Of course he was Zilean, so, you know, like, kind of what we're expecting, but the Portsmouth Pirates really impressed me here with how well they understand the game. And even though in laning phase we saw top lane was a big disparity, but everywhere else really wasn't. I think jungle was another matchup where you could argue that they were kind of ahead. But mid lane, bot lane, it was really afterwards that you saw the positioning of these players. That you saw the respect that they had for what we were talking about, this big shockwave around the Baron. They make one mistake later in the game, which reduces their gold lead from 10k to 6k, so okay, going to adjust it a little bit. They then do, and this is a really impressive first game from them. And also the Invincibles, they were so close. It looked like they were so close at times. I don't think they really were, but it looked like they were.
I mean, the game sort of started very nicely for them. They picked up that first blood, got managing to find Italy on the back of that that sort of goon squad that the Jarvan and
nice early roams.
The Orianna had sort of found out the Italy, so already things looked like they were going well from the Angie, but then all of a sudden he finds himself dying 2 times in a minute to the Hecarim, and unfortunately that sort of set the scene for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and T then is, you know, he's able to, he's both good enough to sustain that lead and then recognize in the mid to late game, well, I'm Hecarim, I'm going to die, you know, I'm just going to dive in, I'm going to do an absolute boatload of damage, you know, Onslaught of Shadows going to come in, I'm going to rampage through them, and then either I get Zilean ulted if the opportunity is there, if my Sivir is threatened, I'm going to die, and it doesn't matter, and that's what he's been doing consistently throughout the entire game. And Shaven Tortoise, even though he didn't have the biggest of impacts, got caught off, I think, once or twice, you know, gave up first blood, but still able to just make use of the pressure by getting a lead over Jacko. And Jacko, I feel like his mid-game was real and late game was really good because he was finding these engages. He had some really nice plays also in the bot lane when he went for the flag and drag, when he was getting dove, you know, like these kind of things look really good. But I gotta question the decision to go for a full damage build against the composition that we saw from the Pirates, because if there's one thing that they're happy with, it's a Jarvan that can just take a spear and then be out of the fight, which is what we saw happen multiple times.
It was the Portsmouth Pirates. Now, they have been in the last
spooky
6 finals.
I kind of get it.
Long Arena Clash.
I kind of get it if I see this.
Based on that game, like you say, it's not hard to see why, and they are looking for the 7th consecutive finals. They are only one game away from securing that place at Insomnia 64, finding themselves on the bus with the rest of the team, able to go and compete on the grandest stage.
Can you
of the
imagine
ball.
how fun that bus ride must be?
No, I don't really like bus rides.
No?
No, especially not when they're with... Oh, no, never mind.
When they're with your co-car stuff?
I mean, you literally got us to sit in a puddle earlier on.
It was a nice bus ride.
So you're
Or
gonna
in
say
front of... We don't know... I'm not used to double-decker buses, so I get really excited.
we had the option of bus number 1, or in this case, bus number 2, because that's the number of the bus.
It was 6.
6, sorry. So we had the option of bus number 6, which was just a small, regular bus. And it was first in the queue. It would have got us to destination earlier.
First in the queue. Oh yeah, I forgot how you Brits are about your queues as well.
Or double-decker bus number 2. And I was like, oh yeah, we got to go double-decker. Oh, we got to sit upstairs. Oh, unlucky. There's a massive puddle upstairs. We're just going to sit in it.
It's a double-decker bus. You know, you got to make use of the opportunity. I mean, for me,
I've had to work with this for 6 weeks.
That's how it feels to me. You know, I understand there's a bit of a culture clash there, but more importantly, after that first game, I would not be surprised to see the Pirates take it. I think that the Invincibles, there's a couple of things. We saw that the early and mid game, they fell so far behind, and they were just getting outclassed in both in terms of roams as in terms of just direct lanes. I would like to see them drop the Urgot, because I don't think that Urgot, especially with how good Hakarim and a lot of other picks are right now, and after the nerfs that he got, is something that you blind pick into the top lane. I don't think he deserves that kind of priority anymore. And I'd like to see them, again, Splaff on Orianna, really impressive to me. I think that the bot lane did fine as well, though the Tom Kench also did really have an impact. I loved for you on the Kaiser. So there's a couple of things for them to work with that, but most importantly, they need to be able to weather this early aggression from the Pirates, because if you're Pirates here, you go into game number 2 and say, well, we drafted a composition with topside aggro, mid and bot side, you know, play it slow, we can get the scaling game, a nice mix of things, and they were able to completely run away with the game. I think if they go full early game draft, they're going to just walk over the Invincibles. So as the Invincibles, I'll try to find an approach that allows you to kind of limit that early game prowess, and then skill, because I think that once they hit that stride, once they're in these team fights, we see that they can make these moves.
Here at the Arena Clash, we do play the sequential side, so it is going to be the side of Preston heading over to the red side, and we're going to see the Portsmouth Pirates able to get the first pick coming into this game, unlike what they had in the last. Will they be able to continue making the Invincibles look totally vincible? Well, I guess we'll find out very shortly, because we'll be bringing you to that Champ Select just as quickly as we can. You started to touch there on just what it was that maybe the Preston team could change to make things work a little bit better for them, Mal. If you were to be in their shoes and be banning right now, would you continue to stick with those bans that are very much sort of targeted at champions you know that people can play well, or do you ban against what you've just seen?
You're still going to build Rengar.
You've got to ban Rengar.
You got to ban Rengar, because Tortoise was already looking really good on Nidalee. I think Nidalee and Rengar, neither of them is in a particularly great spot right now in competitive. But if he plays him like that, then yeah, you don't want to face off against Rengar.
So you throw a second ban towards that Nidalee, do you?
I don't think the Nidalee was a problem there.
Okay.
What I think was a problem was the lack of pressure. So what I'd like to see is, even though I really liked Splaff on the Orianna is not a champion that, especially against Zilean, is going to have a lot of pressure. It's also kind of the thing with Zilean, it's really hard to pressure him because his wave clear is quite good once he gets going. But just in general, Orianna not going to have early pressure. Urgot, especially in its current state, not really going to have Urgot pressure, early pressure. And I would like to see that switched up, because I think that Jacko in a 1v1 matchup seems to be doing fine. He was able to kind of be in the vicinity. He set up some ganks, you know, he was able to kind of contest. But I think it's really hard to play jungle as well, if your lanes are just, in case of Splaff, just even or really behind, as we saw on top lane. So avoid that situation from arising, allow Jacko to scale a little bit better, and then that mid game can be looking completely different, because of the pressure that all the lanes had. Specifically priority on bot lane, heavy priority on top lane, allow Nidalee to snowball an advantage, and then once Nidalee's ahead, we saw what we saw happen here. Can't contest any objectives because you're going to eat a spear. You can't really get any ganks going because Nidalee's always going to know where you are. She's going to take your buffs, she's going to gank your laners, and it's just going to be an absolute terrible time.
So in short, Mal, what you're saying is play Mundo jungle.
Yeah. Play Mundo jungle. Legit.
Fleet footwork or don't bother.
No, it's fleet footwork.
Got to be fleet footwork. Alrighty.
Needs sustain.
Just waiting on the teams. Probably A long toilet break for the side of Preston Invincibles.
It's understandable,
They're
right?
rethinking their strategies, and they're all there, kind of going, "What can we do to try and get ourselves to Insomnia?" Because it's a big deal for these teams. Maybe it feels less so for the Portsmouth Pirates, having been there so many times. But for the Preston Invincibles, this is a massive opportunity, and sometimes you only get one shot.
One shot, one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted.
Absolutely, mum spaghetti.
Very good. I would have loved that you followed up with the actual line, but it's good enough. I think you did a good job.
Cheers, buddy.
I think that the Pirates, especially after last year's finals,
We've got a
would
champ
also be
select.
very unhappy if they didn't make it. So hopefully they're going to go there as we see the Cassiopeia again taken away. So I think Splaff was really the shockwave that he was able to pull off repeatedly were one of the things that kept the Pirates in the game. Again, I wouldn't mind not seeing an Oriana Ben, because simultaneously the Pirates were able to play around it really well most of the time. And I think Ollie's Galio is something that I already talked about a little bit. As they say, no, it's not the Galio, it was the Sivir. I would really like to see them not give over Galio again to Ollie, because I think that he was an absolute menace on that. I think that we saw the early engagements that they were repeatedly able to find were really hard for the Invincibles to deal with. And please take away the Galio, either by banning it away or picking it, because if not, I think we're just going to see the Pirates pick it up again. Instead they go for the Lee here. I don't dislike that, but if they now leave, they need to ban Rengar as well, or I'm not really seeing the value of this this draft here.
Portsmouth Pirates are saying, if it's not broke, don't fix it, and they go for exactly the same 3 bans that they did last time. On the other side, we're going to see the Rengar ban replaced with a Nidalee, and I believe it was the Rek'Sai ban replaced with a Sivir.
Okay, I imagine they would want to go for a Hecarim here, but instead they go for the Zilean. So that means that you can go for, like, what you can do here now is the Invincibles. You can go for pick up a Hecarim for Niangi if he really plays that, and try to maybe get something else OP. Like, you can secure the Orianna already, as you know Zilean probably going to go into mid lane. Picking the Galio away would also be something that I would be very happy with. But instead, again, the Tom Kench. I wasn't the biggest fan of it the previous game, and I feel like I'm not loving that we're seeing it here again.
What I am loving, though, Mao, is that we get to see different views on what people have priority over. So you're talking about how important that Galio is, that maybe it's the crucial thing to ban away. You're seeing the side of Preston saying, actually, nope, it's the Sivir and the Nidalee we don't want to deal with. And then you see the lock-in, and straight away the Pirates go, actually, no, that Zilean is super crucial.
Now you go Rengar Galio, and you're like, well, that's very good. And then, or you go either Rengar Galio, or you go. You're going to go for AD carry, but Sivir's already banned away, so you don't have to be that afraid. If they ban 2 other hyper carries, you can also still opt into something super aggressive like a Lucian or a Draven and just make Fane's life very difficult. Instead of the Rengar, they go for the Jarvan, which I think it's a better call, but I'm sad because I wanted to see a Rengar. We actually have multiple Rengar, like old Rengar 1-tricks in the Benelux scene, and it's always really fun to see them, pull it out. And Caitlyn is also a really good example of an AD carry that is going to make a Vayne's life very, very, very unenjoyable.
No Stabby Kitty in the jungle, and we are going to see, as you say, the Pilt over Sheriff in the bot lane going up against the Vayne, one of the champions that just completely outranges and destroys in the early game if given the opportunity. Going to be tough for you to get to the same point he got to on the Kai'Sa in the last game. Meanwhile, with just the 1 rotation left, you've got to be wondering, are the Invincibles thinking that Zilean could still be a support, or are they going, no, that's definitely for Divinus? They had their Zoe banned away last time, they secure it now before the second phase of bans.
I think it's really interesting that stuff like the Lucian, like the Vladimir, I love that Galio ban. Very good. That's what I wanted to see.
They're listening to you, Mal.
They did. You got to ban that away, right? Even though the Zilean might be flag support as well, like, you're just not going to leave that Galio open again because it was so good, especially with the Jarvan getting picked up, because that's an even nastier combo that you got facing or got against you rather. I would love to see a Braum ban as well, because I feel like Braum is one of the few champions that can... Braum or Yasuo is one of the few champions that can really match Zoe in terms of kind of negating her influence in the mid game, because we know what happens if you don't have a champion like that and Zoe gets going. And Braum Caitlyn isn't the absolute best. Maybe you want to go for something more pokey, like try to go for a Karma. You can also get the Zilean, I guess. So there's still a lot of flexibility for the Pirates, because Jarvan can also still go top.
No, speaking of top, I was just about to say, no attention has been paid whatsoever so far that we can tell over to the top lane.
Maybe the Jarvan.
The Aurelia ban seemed to be more targeted towards Divinus in the mid lane last time, but at the same time could be impactful towards the top lane as well. Hecarim and Urgot, of course, were the champions that we saw last time. We've already seen T hovering that teleporting knight as if what he wants to do was to stick with the Hecarim, but he immediately proved me wrong because he's changed it back over. Maybe he's looking at turning round to the Urgot, and meanwhile the Jin Jiao and the Sejuani taken away from Jacko. He's going to get the opportunity to secure himself a jungler, but it looks like we might get ourselves trolled a little bit because we're going to see a few hovers first of all. I don't think we're going to see an Ivern. I'm just going to say it now. Rek'Sai, on the other hand, banned away in the last game. It's going to be here for Jacko this time.
Rek'Sai, of course, very strong. Depends on whether we're going to see Conqueror or Hail of Blades. Both of them have been fairly popular recently. I feel like both of them have their own merits, and that's really going to... it's not really going to make that big a difference. More about whether you want impromptu tuning power or more upfront burst. So we see the Jax getting hovered here. I quite like that as well.
I love this.
Split push brusher gets going in the top lane. And there is the Braum that we were talking about earlier. This gives you a lot more survivability. And I think that something you haven't really talked about is, although the lane is going to be really unfortunate for Divine as he does have cleanse, but if you're going to get hit by Sleepy Trouble Bubble and you don't have cleanse, you're dead, guaranteed. But if that doesn't happen, one of the few things that Zoe kind of has to struggle with, if she uses a burst rotation and then the target just gets resurrected, it just doesn't do that much. And then once you get through that mid game, as we see the Urgot getting picked up again, I'm not the hugest fan of that because I feel like last time it didn't really have its impact, although it is arranged into a melee matchup, so maybe that we're going to see T have a little bit of a harder time there. As I assume it's going to be the Jax in the top lane, although honestly could also go for Jax jungle, but they're not gonna opt into that. And again, the Pirates here, snowbally composition, a lot of pressure on the top side, although this time I feel like the Invincibles are a little bit more evenly matched. But last time I wasn't a huge fan of the Urgot, I wasn't a huge fan of the Tahm Kench, and I'm hoping that the Invincibles can prove me wrong and turn it around here.
You talked about the two champions that they have that are the same from last time. The Pirates have kept hold of their mid lane Zilean. Apart from that, the remaining 7 champions that we see are new for these teams coming into these compositions. So we are going to see the Jax up in the top lane against the Urgot. Like I say, very different matchup for the Urgot, that the ranged advantage that he can have. But if Jax gets going, I mean, the same can be said for Urgot. If the Urgot also gets going, they could really take over the game, both of these top laners.
Although with Urgot, the team fighting is more something that you're worried about with the Fear Beyond Death and just the sheer amount of damage he's able to deal walking around with Purge. While with T, if he gets out this time, last time we saw what happened, the Pirates just find and force team fights, make use of the Hecarim. If he gets ahead now, we're just going to see him
take turrets.
Yeah, just going to go for, turret up, T's there.
Well, that's the problem. I mean, if Jax is able to get to the level that T was at before, where he got that Trinity Force so much ahead of where Urgot got his Black Cleaver, I mean, there's literally nothing that he's going to be able to do. I think
that, Hecarim Snowball's okay, but Jax is... Together with Vayne, let's be honest, for you here, if he's able to pick up some kills, which should be hard against a Caitlyn Braum lane, especially with the Tahm Kench, who you really get for the late game, right? Because the laning phase is just not all that, unless you can set something up for Jacko.
I had an interesting conversation with a few, not professional players, but sort of just below the professional level the other day, and I was, yeah, exactly. I was kind of asking the question, could you give me what you think is sort of your 3 or 4 top champions in the late game? Like, if given the opportunity to get to their strongest point, come 30, 35 minutes, who just wipes the floor with everybody?
Was Vayne?
The 2 of the 4 that were talked about are on display now.
Vayne, was Kassadin and Vladimir?
Vayne and Jax were talked about in great regard. Also, sort of almost in a joking sense, they were talking about Nasus, if you kind of give it its opportunity to get late. And everybody was agreed that Kayle is in just a stupid place late game. Now, this conversation was just before the nerfs had come through, shredding off some of the late game damage, but even so, a very, very strong champion. We're going to see the Jax and the Vayne on opposite sides of the rift here, and seeing which of these gets their late game power spike first could be telling us which team's picking up the win.
Yeah, the Caitlyn and Braum lane should be able to keep down, although, because you don't... the Morgana then kind of shooting the Pirates in the foot here, because Caitlyn Morgana in particular is like an absolutely gruesome lane. And I feel like something like a Karma would have fit a little bit better with the Braum. I don't dislike the Braum because I think it's a good pick into Zoe, but just in terms of like a 2v2 matchup, if you go for something pokey here, you can make the life an absolute hell. Now with the Braum, you still have good all-in potential, and Caitlyn herself is going to be able to poke, but it's not as strong in just a sheer 2v2 as it would be otherwise. What it does give you is it gives you the opportunity, or the chance rather, to deal with the inevitability of a late mid-game Zoe, which is just, in my opinion, one of the most frustrating champions to play against, because Sleepy Trouble, Winter Battlestar, and more Sparkles just kind of slowly like flowing towards you, and you're like, well, guess I'm dead.
We gave credit to Splaff for the plays on Orianna in the last game,
good.
and I'm really, really excited to see what he can now do going onto this champion.
It was
that
banned last
can
time.
be a bit more impactful.
I don't think Splaff lacked impact. I feel like if you're a scaling mage and you either, like a control mage, and either you rely on shielding your carry or finding big shockwaves and then turning a team fight. Well, he tried to shield his carry, but carry was so far behind, or the team was so far behind, rather, that it didn't matter too much. And he found the shockwaves, but same thing. So I don't think it was the champion that was a problem. I think Splaff had a really good performance, although the Pirates played around very well. And more importantly, the Zoe was banned away last time. And Zoe's a champion that can take over a game if you give it the opportunity. And there's a lot of these champions in this game. There's a lot of high variety stuff, like the Vayne. If Vayne gets ahead, it's absolutely atrocious to deal with. If Jax gets ahead, same thing. I feel like Urgot is also good, but it's not as snowbally as one of those two. And Zoe's frankly the same, because like Zilean, he probably shouldn't ever get ahead, and if he does, then he's just gonna, like, the bombs are going to be annoying anyway, speed up's going to be annoying anyway, ultimate's going to be, like, he doesn't really change in how you watch the champion. But a Vayne with 3 kills on like an early Rage Blade, you're terrified, because every single thing, if you don't kill her, she's just going to 1v9.
Going back to Splaff there, you're completely correct in what you said in regards to Splaff. He was impactful in his own way on the Orianna. What I really meant was more that we've got a champion now that he can have maybe more early game impact on, and actually get involved and start turning around some of the other lanes more so early on.
I feel like Zoe's still not what I would have liked to see from the Invincibles, because it's still not as strong in the very early game as we see a level 1 Invade. Incredibly strong here with the Winter's Bite.
Niangi is about to find the rest of the Portsmouth Pirates looking for him. That is going to be the flash over the wall. Niangi immediately losing a summoner spell, just like he did so early at the beginning of the last game, and we know how that turned out for him.
Yeah, that's not great. And last time he was able to pick up First Blood with it, which then he wasn't able to really use. I'm loving that we see them go down here, because I still feel with how strong Concussive Blows is at level 1, they can't really contest this. Like, there's only 3 people there. Niangi isn't there. It's a 4 versus 3. I would really like the Invincibles to get out of here, which it seems like they're doing, but Alpha Chinchilla paths away as well. Fortunately does not path greedily, and they will be able to take them out here. There was no wards placed either, but I think that just based on the movement, they know that the Pirates are starting red here, which means that Shaven Tortoise, if he's going to go for the top lane gank, which I imagine he is, with Flash being down, Urgot being kind of a walking crab without that Flash in terms of ganks, needs to be careful.
Okay, definitely not the start the Invincibles would be hoping for as they look to turn this semi-final around, finding themselves down as they do 1-0 against the Portsmouth Pirates. Winner of this game will go on to face the winner of the Clyde Claymores and the London Lionhearts, a match which we will get to see later on tonight.
I'm really curious about that one as well, because especially if there's going to be an actual, a third game best of 3, as we see now, Niangi is able to abuse the fact that he is ranged playing against T, who is a melee champion. T taking a lot of damage there, getting tagged multiple times by the passive and the corrupting charge. A lot of mana though, because this is of course one of the changes that we saw come through to Urgot, is that he does have to expand a lot more mana. And yeah, you can't really take a trade with a Caitlyn as Vayne early on, or this happens.
Yeah, that headshot was a little bit painful to watch, especially if you're in the shoes of Fuyu right now, who is playing on the Vayne, this time definitely on a Prestige edition, and definitely showing off the amount of mastery and time that he has put into that champion. Meanwhile, the push is now being put down by Caitlyn. Didn't even have a support for a while, and still continues the easy push in the bot lane.
And what you expect with the Caitlyn lane, especially early on. You're just going to shove into tower, see if you can find something, get some plates, and make it really hard for the Vayne to CS on the turret. Just keep harassing it continuously. You know that Jacko isn't anywhere in the vicinity as well, because botside Scuttle was picked up by your jungler, so you have some vision there at least. And of course, as Rek'Sai, you're kind of waiting for that burrow before you're really going to go for something.
Despite losing Flash early, Niangi has been harassing the hell out of T. What an early CS advantage for the Urgot against the Jax. Also has that Biscuit in the mastery points as well, so can sustain if he needs to. Meanwhile, T is just trying to get as much last hitting done as he can, but having a difficult time of it.
And this is what you need to do as Urgot. You need to abuse the fact that you're this ranged bully, as we see Divine is still as the cleanse available and will cleanse the Ignite there. Nerves of Steel on that one.
That was a worrying moment there. I thought he'd left the cleanse a little long, deciding not to go for the Sleepy Trouble Bubble cleanse. Instead, however, opting to go for the Ignite, which does mean Splaff loses the one summoner spell to the one summoner spell of Divinus. Had he opted to cleanse the Sleepy Trouble Bubble, he probably would have ended up having to burn the Flash anyway.
As we see both junglers heading towards topside, but I think that T is still fine as long as he can kind of stay relevant. There is a ward though, and we might see a fight happening here, but they see Jacko and they wisely decide to back off.
Sleepy Trouble Bubble again landing. This time, of course, no cleanse available for Divinus, but he's just far enough under his turret that the paddle star is not going to affect him. No portal jump quite available for Splaff, but when he hits level 6, it could be difficult. Meanwhile, T could be finding himself in a lot of difficulty as well. He's already used the Counter-Strike, having to flash away. Having used that ward hop, he gets himself to safety, but loses that summoner spell. Niangi will have his flash up in about a minute's time.
T getting really greedy for the minions there, because he was also pathing past Niangi, which in general is not a thing that you want to do early on in this matchup, because once Jax gets some levels, right, once he gets his Grandmaster Challenge, and once he's able to maybe find himself a Phage, a Sheen, then he's actually going to be able to take these trades against Niangi, because that's when your Counter-Strike really starts to come in huge. But for now, you just need to farm. You just need to stay away from the Urgot, wait for your jungler, and instead he's kind of forced to use his flash on the back of him being over aggressive there. I feel like he might have been able to, or he might have been forced to flash even without Jacko there, because that was just some really over aggressive play coming out from him.
Very greedy. He not only forces his flash out, but also teleports back to lane, having picked himself up the components of a Phage, but not actually getting the completed item itself. Meanwhile, Jacko still waiting in the wings, waiting for T to step forward a little bit further. Niangi did even out that teleport advantage as we see the jump going in from T. There's the flip. Here comes Jacko. The knockup is there once more. Counter-Strike negating a little bit of damage, but T finds himself in trouble, but he beautifully gets himself out of danger using the corrupting potions, and somehow the top laner of the Portsmouth Pirates just keeps on living.
And that's an absolutely lovely Counter-Strike, like timed just at the right moment, because if he'd used that earlier, then Niangi's damage would have been negated, but there would be so much upfront burst from Jacko that he would have still been in a really dire spot. Instead, he's still behind in CS, and he might get Fear Beyond Death here. Is he not careful? In the end, the corrupting part will be enough to heal him, and now we see Shaven Tortoise making his way up top. They need to be careful though, because if Urgot can turn this around, it's going to be devastating.
Here comes Shaven Tortoise, not level 6 yet, so no Cataclysm available. The Grandmaster's Might is there for T. Niangi going to be able to flash away from that flag and drag, again turning damage back, and already we see the top laner and jungler for the Portsmouth Pirates down below half health. Meanwhile, Jacko making his way down towards the bot lane, securing himself a Scuttle Crab, possibly going to be able to turn his attention towards this bottom lane that is consistently pushing for the Pirates, but not much of a CS advantage being gained for Rhydona.
And there will be some counter jungling there, because unfortunately topside Scuttle was already taken by Shaven Tortoise. And what's important here though is that the flash is forced by Niangi, and T gets relief from pressure, because if he's able to stay within a reasonable XP and CS disadvantage, which currently is still the case, I do feel like there's going to be a point in time where he will be able to outtrade. It's just he hasn't reached that yet, and we see him now respect that fact. Shaven Tortoise really helping out there as well. Raptors was taken up there by Jacko, who regardless is kind of far behind, and these repeated top lane visits have meant that with no actual kills getting picked up on T, they haven't really paid off, and that means that he's now at quite a disadvantage.
7 minutes into the game and not a first blood to be seen. The Preston Invincibles playing this one slow, playing it steady, knowing that they are in the last chance saloon. If they are to lose this game, the series is over. Portsmouth Pirates will have booked their place at Insomnia 64. Niangi stepping forward, taking a bit of damage from T. We're not going to see him able to go down quite yet though, because T does throw down the Counter-Strike. Now of course Fear Beyond Death is available, and that's going to be first blood. Nice and easy at the end of the day. Preston Invincibles, it's been coming for a long time now.
Yeah, could kind of wait for that. T just not respecting the execute from Fear Beyond Death there. And something that also interests me is that we keep seeing these huge waves getting created on bot side, but we never see an actual dive, and it is really hard and risky to dive a Vayne
Especially
and
with the
Tom
TK,
Cash.
yeah.
Yeah, and maybe if Divine is a little bit more confident at lane, we might see something, but he's constantly getting pushed in. And, well, last time we saw the Pirates really hold their own in the lanes. This time, though, 20 CS advantage for Splaff, big lead for Niangi in the top lane, which last time was a really big win condition for the Pirates. And this bot lane of Caitlyn Brom isn't really able to find the edge as well. Now with the BF sword, I feel like they should have an edge in terms of trading, and Shaven Tortoise making his way down there is a really good sign, but they need to start finding something soon.
Perhaps this is that moment. The Flag and Drag is going to get the knock up on the Vayne. The Cataclysm thrown down onto Alpha Chinchilla, who had devoured the Vayne, but at the end of the day, the Flash is burned out of Alpha Chinchilla, but that is all. The side of Preston Invincibles playing this one so safe and so steadily.
And I think the big difference here is that the Portsmouth Pirates will skill relatively well, and if the Preston Invincibles can just get to 2 items on Vayne and get an item on Zoe, they're still going to be in a lead in terms of how well they're able to do. Right, so the Pirates is not that bad for them because they will still have a lot of win conditions built in. But again, I feel like the Invincibles just have such an easier team composition. You have the Tom Kench, you have a lot of upfront burst as we see T chasing down Jacko in the jungle.
Yeah, Jacko going for a bold invade here. He has got the backup of Splaff, who has complete priority in the mid lane. Divinus so low on mana, quite low on health as well. Looked like he's being forced away. Meanwhile, Shaven Tortoise potentially trying to contest this blue, but with the Urgot, the Rek'Sai and the Zoe all around, it feels like this is going to be a comfortable steal for the Invincibles as they take yet more of the map.
And last time Divinus had teleport, so maybe they could have threatened something here, but this time they're kind of behind, they can't really get anything here, and more importantly, blue buff is so big for Zilean because one of the big issues is he's quite a mana hog, and he's already having such a tough time in his lane, so the Invincibles pushing their lead this time, I absolutely love it. Now they need to just make sure that they're able to maintain this, that they're able to continuously up the pressure and give the time to Fiyu and Splaff to scale up, because if they reach that, it's going to be a great spot for them.
Shaven Tortoise does not hit the Flag and Drag. Instead, the Sleepy Trouble Bubble is on top of him. It's going to be the ultimate from Zilean, keeping him alive, but this is the patient wait from Jacko. He uses the Void Rush just as the Zilean ultimate times out. A second kill for the Preston Invincibles. Jungler taking down Jungler. Now T trying to get the trade onto Niangi, who dashes forward, does not manage to land the flip onto T, who throws down the Counter-Strike. Has got a good bit of damage coming through from the Conqueror. He has got the Phage completed, but against the Phage Kindle Gem Niangi, he's going to win out. T getting the first kill of the game for the Portsmouth Pirates. Meanwhile, Splaff still not done with Divinus, throws down the Sleepy Trouble Bubble. It's not quite going to land, but decent damage coming through from the mid laner. Zoe, who's 0-0-1, constantly harassing that Zilean.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think that what we saw there was Shaven Tortoise using his own shield to stay alive there, which meant that he died. Because if he'd not used his shield, he would have gotten resurrected, and then he would have come back with more health. And we've also reached the point, as we saw there, where T is going to be able to do this to Niangi, and I feel like that with actually him picking up that kill there, that lane is going to become a whole lot more uncomfortable for the Urgot, because he's not anywhere near his Black Cleaver, but T's going to go back, and I assume with that kill going to pick up at least a Sheen and maybe something more, and then those trades are going to be very, very unfortunate. They need this sideline pressure as well, because thus far the Preston Invincibles are playing incredibly well.
They really are. They found themselves just under 1,000 gold lead as we are getting towards 12 minutes. No neutral objectives have been taken by either team. Once again, Shaven Tortoise trying to return some attention down here. He hasn't really been able to land a significant Flag and Drag just yet. He's waiting for it. This time getting the knock-up onto both champions. He throws the Cataclysm down. Flash out by Vayne. Devour, obviously, was not going to help out. Ace in the hole, takes down the Vayne. Double kill over to Caitlyn, and that is just the advantage that she needed in that lane.
Because now she's going to go back and probably get an Infinity. Teleport does get forced, so Niangi will have an advantage there, and the team are getting picked up, so instead of that Sheen going to go for a lot more pushing power and sustain. Also quite like that, and yeah, perfect player in the bot lane, and the Purge is still an absolute nuisance to deal with, and the Counter-Strike being used very late there. I feel like he already used it in an earlier trade, because not counter-striking the Purge makes happen what we saw there, but look at these trades, because T knows he's only working with like 70% of his normal health bar because he's playing against Urgot, but there goes the first turret, and this back is going to be absolutely monstrous from Radona. Last time we saw, if he gets ahead, they do have the Zilean available. Shaven Tortoise is going for a tanky build with the Cinderhawk already finished here, so he will actually have a front line available to him. And with Brom also in a good spot at the moment, it's looking better for the Pirates rather, but again might change that around.
T already used Leap Strike and as a result doesn't have an easy way out of this fight, but maybe doesn't need it. Void Rush is going to be thrown down, but the Grandmaster's might that T has right now is just enough to 1 versus 2. That's going to be the easy as you like double kill for the monstrous top laner of the Portsmouth Pirates. He is on fire. The question is, will that fire be extinguished by Splap, who's come up to the top lane to try and pick up a shutdown? Because all of that is happening across the map, Alpha Chinchilla and Few decide to start themselves up a dragon. They look like they're going to get this Cloud Drake uncontested, but there comes the sweeping lens. Here comes the Draven. He's not going to get there in time. However, it's going to be Vayne securing this one just in time. I actually thought that was going to be a steal for a moment.
Yeah, he didn't have his Q available. Otherwise, I'm not like 100% sure it would have gone in. And there we see the exact same thing we saw happen earlier. Niangi uses his Fear Beyond Death so early. Like, he's absolutely sure that they're going to get that, but instead, the Counter-Strike gets used, Jacko does no damage, and then Jax does what Jax does, which is turn around these kind of fights, and then now all of a sudden, it's 3-1 for the Jax. It's a 2-0 Caitlyn.
Oh, not for long it's not, because Kate has gone so very deep. Braum dashing to her side, trying to turn damage back onto Alpha Chinchilla, who's in a lot of trouble. Shaven Tortoise chasing down the Frog. The ace in the hole is going to get popped, and so is the Tahm Kench. To Rhydona now is just rushing around, got the Zillion speed up. The Yangi's come down this lane, not even using the teleport, but he's just run straight into his own demise. It's going to be Divinus getting his first kill of the game, easily picking this one up, and now this monster squad that the Portsmouth Pirates took down a bot lane turret with can turn their attention to mid lane.
And what really impresses me about the Pirates is the way that they are able to turn around even a disadvantaged position. It also worries me that twice in a row now we see them get into a disadvantaged position. Like, it's kind of unfortunate. It's probably not something that should happen. Although with this lane, with these picks, you can kind of justify it. But regardless, the fact that one gank and 1 kill, basically, because that double kill from T was incredible, but that never should have happened. I feel like that was a misplay from Niangi and Jacko, just not layering their skills right, and because of that leading to too much damage being tanked by the Counter-Strike. But that solo kill from T, combined with Rhydona getting up a double kill there, picking up the IE, picking up the Zeal, and now all of a sudden the Portsmouth Pirates look as in control as they were in game number 1. And it's not as big a gold lead yet, but they were behind, I think, 2k gold, and now it's a 3k gold lead.
Not just they were behind, that was 3 minutes ago that they were behind 1,000 gold, and a double kill for T, a double kill for Rhydona, and suddenly a massive swing because 4,000 is now the gold lead for the Portsmouth Pirates.
I think T's gonna get out.
Has been the miracle man so far. Can he get himself out of trouble here? The answer is no. He looked like he might be able to as he used the Grandmaster's might just as he went with that leap. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough, but here comes Divinus. It's going to be T buying his team enough time to try and come up and maybe turn this fight. Oliver wants this fight. He always wants the fight, and he goes forward. He's managing to lock down Alpha Chinchilla, and Tahm Kench may have to go down again for the 3rd time this game. Using the grey health, it's not going to be enough. Rhydona's here, wants the kill. It's given over to the ADC of the Portsmouth Pirates, who is now 4-0-1. Infinity Edge, Zeal, Berserker's Greaves. That's a Caitlyn with tons of damage.
It's no IE, or no Trinity Force, sorry, so it's not tons of damage. It is a lot of damage, but it's not tons.
It's kilos of damage.
I love that. Thank you for helping me feel welcome. It's very nice of you.
I enjoy it for a couple more months.
Yeah, I will. Thank you, Stan. More importantly, Herald gets thrown away for seemingly nothing, as that was about to time out. And Preston Invincibles, even when T gets taken down, this is something we saw in game number 1 as well, right? Where the Preston Invincibles, they find these plays, but they need to use so much. They're so far overextended. They need to just do everything just to keep Jacko alive. And then the rest of the team comes in. They pick up a kill. They pick up a turret. And they're just going to keep doing this. And now the start line pressure is on, because I don't think that Niangi can really lane 1v1 anymore. You have Spliff who can kind of rotate back and forth and maybe get something done there. But Rhydona is going to absolutely shred through these turrets.
Do you remember when T was having a rough time in lane and gave up first blood?
No.
Well,
I don't.
I do.
It seems to be a very faint, distant memory that is not relevant at all anymore.
He's now 2 levels up on his lane opponent.
Yeah.
How did that even happen?
Yeah. It's not good, is it?
I mean, it is. It's very good from him.
For him.
Yeah. Just not so good for his lane opposition, who now, having had that solid start, even picking up the first blood on the Urgot in this game, and having picked up the first blood on Urgot in the last game, now finds himself down 2 kills, down 3 CS, and down to, well, 1 level now, but soon to be, yep, there it is, 2 levels to his lane opponent. Meanwhile, a second dragon of the game is going to come up. This one is going to be another Cloud, I believe. I could be wrong on that one. The first Cloud was picked up by the Preston Invincibles. They also picked up the Rift Herald in that small time where they had themselves a little bit of a lead. Unfortunately, that Herald, it came to nothing. Only the one turret's been secured by the Invincibles. Now the Portsmouth Pirates, yet again, finding themselves in this mid-game run.
And this time, you have a very nice ball delivery system, but this time it's not a ball, it's a bomb in the form of Jarvan once again. And more importantly, your side lane pressure is going to be absolutely devastating as the Pirates. You have teleport, so T can just go off in the side lane. And by the time someone actually wants to go for a fight, as we see the trap line being set up there and the Ocean Drake getting taken, they're going to be fine. Like, Unbreakable is going to tank a lot of damage here. I feel like Radona should not tank the turret here, but unfortunately he does not. And I want to see the teleport coming down from T because it looks like the Invincibles want to go in here.
There is a potential contest for this dragon. Let's see whether or not the Smite fight goes down. Meanwhile, we can't get to see what's going on with the Smite because Splaff is looking to get the damage down onto the Divinus, who only manages to land the damage of his bombs on to the Scuttle Crab, which is picked up nice and easily by the Preston Invincibles. Meanwhile, however, T is just having the most easy of times, taking down turrets in the top lane for days. The side of Invincibles have to fight. They have to fight now. T does have teleport available. He uses it, going into the Dragon Pit. Already, Divinus has managed to pick up the kill onto Rek'Sai. Now we do see the Fear Beyond Death pulling one back. That's going to be the Jarvan going down as we see Braum popped off by the Vayne. But look at the turnaround. The teleporting T has arrived. The ace in the hole, throw down onto Splaff, who is the sole remaining member of the Preston Invincibles. Dashing forward, picking up the kill onto T, but giving her life up into a triple kill for the Caitlyn, who is now 7-0-3. 13 kills to 6. The ace comes through for the Portsmouth Pirates. There's not even a Baron on the table for them to be able to take.
I love that play there from Splaff. Like, I can't overstate how much I love that he was able to pick up a return kill there. But it doesn't matter because this team fight was so cleanly played by the Pirates. So what happens is Radona gets attacked by the Sleepy Trouble Bubble and the Invincibles are really quick on the draw here. I think this is also the pressure kind of getting to them because they try to fully hard engage. And then Oliver, again, I keep praising this man because he's been so on point with his play. He's able to jump in front of him. In front of his carry, use the Unbreakable, negating any damage from the Caitlyn. Then Jacko's trying to look for a burrow play, and he immediately hits the Glacial Fissure. The entire enemy team that was all beelining for the Caitlyn, who was slapped, gets knocked up. Then Jarvan goes in, hits a Cataclysm, and I feel like they've effectively won that fight, if not for Splaff and Fiu's long survival there, even without the teleport from T, because they still got that in the topside turret, right? Like, it's not like he had to teleport away from that. The teleport means that it's a secure fight, and I'm not criticizing teleport, but just showing how well the Pirates played that team fight, even without the help of previously it was the most fat laner, but now it's not anymore. It's Radona because he is incredibly strong now. Just went back and bought a rapid fire cannon. Like, his last seal was still there, you know.
And the fact that, you know, we're talking about this, the Pirates must be realising it as well and knowing that actually T didn't do a huge amount coming in on the back of that fight, picking up one kill and then dying. But actually, if he now knows that, you know what, if that fight happens again, his team can pretty much deal with it and he can keep on pushing. Well, next time it's going to be an inhibitor turret and maybe even more of the base going down, and we're not even sure the Pirates will lose a fight. They've now got themselves an Ocean Dragon for the added sustain. Jacko looking like he's trying to make something happen, dashing as he does onto Shaven Tortoise, but look at the damage he's taking from headshots. The ace in the hole is going to get blocked by Niangi, but in doing so he has to turn himself back into Shaven Tortoise. Oliver with the knock-up onto Niangi, and yet again the Urgot for the 5th time this game is going to die. Divinus picking that one up is 3-0-4 on the Zilean, and Portsmouth Pirates just continue to do whatever they want. Meanwhile, T in the top lane is already onto the inhibitor turret, and there is no way for the Preston Invincibles to deal with him. 4 men pushing hard in the mid lane, 1 mighty Jax in the top lane, and the Portsmouth Pirates are in touching distance of that final.
Radona and Divinus haven't died yet this game. I think T is going to die. I feel like this is a little bit of an overstep, although Alpha Chinchilla can't really chase as well as Fuyu can, so they kind of have to leave him. Yes, they're playing Zilean, but even then, I feel like Radona and Divinus deserve some credit here because we saw
Did they die in the last game?
No. Perfect KDA there as well, both
wow.
of them.
Jacko, he's not going to have perfect KDA.
No.
That's the Cataclysm. That's the flash out of the Rek'Sai. It's going to be Shaven Tortoise flashing after him.
Okay,
that's
Tortoise, come on.
Shaven Tortoise not letting anyone live in this game. He's gone for the tankier build on the Jarvan, and he can do whatever he wants.
So Spear of Shojin is going to be finished in T first soon. That's going to be absolutely terrifying. I feel like I'm not sure if Shaven Tortoise is like because he has a lot of components for a Warmogs. He has a lot of components for a Deadman's Blade, And I mean, he technically can pick up a Spectre Scowl as well and go to Spirit. So he has a lot of options open to himself, which I like. But I agree with you. The tankier build makes so much sense here. Provides a lot of front line. I again can't overstate how well I think Oliver is playing. And I think he's one of the big reasons why Redona is able to do what he does. But we saw also there, they look for a play from the side of the Invincibles, right? And we see Redona just expertly like that micro movement that he was able to pull off. That's the kind of stuff that, as the Nightmares, make you go like, oh, come on, you know, we finally, it looks like we were able to catch you, and then we're good. Importantly though, the Preston Invincibles, they're not as far behind as they were game number 1. They still have a team composition with the Zoe, with the Vayne. These can pop off and just completely take over the game, but they need to find an opportunity, because if not, I fear that we're going the same way as game number 1.
The Portsmouth Pirates are playing so much like they are driven by one pure goal right now. It's not the potential prize pool. It's not the honour of playing on the stage at Insomnia. It's the chance to meet Maurits Chronicle of Musen in person.
You think I thought you were ramping up to like facing the Claymores, which I love, but I'm very flattered.
Claymores aren't the final yet that I know of, so
but that's what they want, right? I'm not saying
it's the rematch they've been dreaming of for
exactly.
months.
I'm not saying that the Claymores are going. Don't get me wrong, but I do feel like if you're the Portsmouth Pirates, that's what you want, because you want to show them. Last time we got reverse sweeps, and we're not going to let that happen again.
That might be the only thing better than meeting you.
Yeah.
Turning that one around.
They get to meet you as well.
It's so-so. I've done it. It's not great.
That's unfortunate. Were you nice?
Not to myself, no. Not usually.
That's painful. As is the push that T is currently getting on with, as Spirit Shojin just now finished in the bot side. I think that Niangi steps forward. Yep, there we go.
Here's T. He's jumping into the face of the Urgot, who is now fairly tanky. He got the Righteous Glory. It's been a while since I saw that item. Forgot what it was called for a moment.
Skarner and Urgot and sometimes Olaf, and that's pretty much everyone who built it, I think.
Well, there we go. It's been a while since I saw that one in action, but it is going to be there for the top lane of the Preston Invincibles, as he does his very best to stop this painful split pushing coming through from the Jacks. But every single time that the side of Preston Invincibles back out of their red side jungle, the Baron gets started up once more. And with Jarvan being so tanky, he really doesn't care about the damage he's taken. You talked about the items he had earlier. It ended up being a Knight's Vow, so there's even more protection now for Rhydona.
Like that as well, you know, just really going for a more supportive build. One saving grace for the Invincibles here, as we see here as well, as Oliver does get taken down fairly low, is there's a very slow Baron here from the Pirates. Again, they don't have a Vayne, they don't have a Kai'Sa, they don't have something that shreds through it, but they do shred for team members.
Shaven Tortoise gets sped up, he throws the Capitalism down onto Alpha Chinchilla. T is going to get the teleport in, one member of the Invincibles already dead, and with all 5 people from the Portsmouth Pirates here on the top side, there is an open inhibitor, as you're rightly saying there, Mao, and that is going to be where the attention of the Pirates goes to. Instead of the Baron, they look to try to start the rush of super inhibitors into the base. Nicely timed Condemn coming through from Vayne, meaning that T not quite able to jump onto the face of the ADC of the Invincibles, but someone who is not invincible is this inhibitor turret. It's already down to half health, but so are several of the Portsmouth Pirates, and this is going to lead to them backing off. Splath doing everything he can with the poke, everything he can with Sleepy Trouble Bubbles. Jacko potentially looking for a flank, has a very damaging build, but he just doesn't have the tankiness to be able to go in on his own.
And that's kind of that's not on him, right? That's
no, of course not.
That's what happens with Rek'Sai. If your team is not ahead, if you're not ahead, then you're going to be in this awkward situation where she's not going to do that much. But Black Cleaver is going to help a little bit, but with how much support Rhydona currently has, I don't think so. This is kind of the problem to me. Like the Rek'Sai at this point in time just doesn't do that much anymore, because even if you do find him, you're not going to 1v1 him on your own through Knight's Vow, right, through Oliver. And then even if you do, as we see the Baron getting started up, they actually do have a very fast Baron, and there's no teleport available on T. Are we going to see a turnaround here?
Ace in the hole throw down onto Jacko is going to get blocked, and already Oliver throwing his ultimate down that Glacial Fissure, knocking people up. Alpha Chinchilla once again left for dead by the rest of his team. Divinus now 5-0-5 on this Zilean pick. Flag and Drag not going to get any knockups, but it is the flash forced out of Fuyu, and he is now in a lot of trouble. He's used the heal. I don't think he's getting out of here today. Shaven Tortoise picks up his second kill of the game. Splaff is going to drop, and that is going to be a free Baron for the side of the Portsmouth Pirates.
I ended it very fast, but it doesn't really matter. As T says, I haven't had enough. I've 2v2'd you, or 2v1'd you guys earlier, and it was very easy then. It's even easier now. And yeah, Jacko can't really do anything else, but like that flash was kind of unfortunate, but like the ultimate, you just need to try and go for it. As Oliver and T just now, they take the inhibitor. I think they're going to shove in mid next while the rest of the team does the Baron. There's nothing that the Invincibles can do now, and incredible how the Pirates are able to turn around it here, and that they are staying very long now. Fuyu is about to come back, and I would very much not like to see that 450 gold bounty on T go the way of Fuyu, because we keep going on about this, but Preston Invincibles, once again, I think that the point where Splaff can hit a Sleepy Trouble and have it be, you know, a like always hit and like be a success, they kind of passed that. The Pirates are playing around it so well, because it's not on Splaff not finding these skills, right? It's on the Pirates. Every time that someone gets hit, immediately Radona, 90 calibers net back, Oliver stands in front of them, and the same kid is at Shaven Tortoise, and they can afford to as well, especially with now the Warmux also finished for the Jarvan, stopwatch available. There's just so many people that can just tank the damage from Zoe, so Zoe's kind of negated. Rek'Sai isn't the champion anymore, so then you're reliant on the Vayne. Second item is not finished, but she's so far behind Radona, and that's awkward because in an ideal teamfight situation at this point in time, 30 minutes into the game, you'd want to try and just, if Vayne finds a 1v1 that, she's going to completely decimate the Caitlyn. But now, I don't even think that's the case, because Radona is just so bonkers strong.
The speediness of the Invincibles has just been equalised by the Portsmouth Pirates, who get themselves that Dragon and now look for the fight. The Glacial Fish are going to catch one as Splaff finds himself knocked up. The portal jump is going to pull him straight back into the waiting hands of the Caitlyn. Jax takes down Urgot meanwhile, and that is going to be the final inner turret going down. The inhibitor turret will fall shortly after, and this could well be the end of the game. This could be the end of the Invincibles trip here at Belong Arena Clash for this season. Yet again, Alpha Chinchilla stunned up, taken out of the game. The equation is complete. 1 + 1 equals Portsmouth Pirates going to the grand final of Insomnia 64. A resounding win against the Invincibles. At 30 minutes, the game is going to be over. Vayne doing absolutely everything she can, but Avinas has got a zillion ult on top of himself, and that's going to be enough to keep him alive. It's going to be enough to take Rek'Sai down. But what is the final kill of this game as the Nexus turret falls? GG, WP, Portsmouth Pirates, they're on their way to I-64.
Divinus and Radona, 2 perfect games in a row. Look at that KD and Oliver. 0, 1 and 20. He didn't even steal a kill. He didn't even steal a single kill.
They didn't give him a kill. That's what makes me sad.
No, if you're a support and you're able to do this well and never, like, accidentally steal a kill, I'm impressed. And just in general, I thought that the game plan from the Preston Invincibles, especially in that first game, I feel was incredibly, like, well drafted. Although, again, Urgot Tomkanch, after this game as well, not the biggest fan of it, but they did stick with that strategy. And this game, initially, it looked like it was working out well, and I love their committal to it. And I did have the idea that they were trying to play to the win conditions as best as they could. And that's something that really impressed me, is that they were constantly... You saw the shockwaves in Game 1. You saw the Sleepy Trouble bubbles here. They were really trying to find these opportunities, but the Portsmouth Pirates just play on a different level in terms of their rotations, in terms of how they set up these gangs, and more importantly, every play that the Pirates make, they get something out of it. While with the Invincibles, the story for me was they try to make these plays, but they never really works out. They got the lead, but they weren't able to build upon it. While the Pirates, once they got ahead, they just walked away with the game.
For 11 minutes, I believed in the Invincibles' ability to take that game. They were looking like they'd drafted well and they were playing around potential win conditions, but then for the next 19 minutes, it was all about one team. And Portsmouth Pirates, after securing a double kill almost simultaneously in the top lane and the bottom lane, completely walked over the Invincibles for the rest of the game, destroying the Invincibles and finding their way into the grand final, which will be held at the live event Insomnia 64, and they will be going up against either the Clyde Claymores or the London Lionhearts, not the Nighthawks.
Yeah, very
I thought for a moment we'd had a surprise contender entering the arena, but no, it is. Trust me, it is Clyde Claymores against the London Lionhearts next.
And there we go. There they are. Thank you, Lionhearts. Glad you're showing up. And as I said before, I think that the Pirates want the Claymores to win, but the Lionhearts have been looking really good.
I'm pretty sure the Lionhearts don't want the Claymores to win.
Bold call.
Bold call.
You want to take the prediction?
I'll take that one, yeah, definitely. We'll be bringing you that game very shortly after this break.
type of way. I wish I heard you say that maybe what I'm feeling isn't real and the ceiling is falling as my voice is calling for that feeling again. Watch me try to understand, but I can't possibly know. You make me feel alive. You make my lungs feel right.
5 times champions, the Portsmouth Pirates, are confirmed as our first finalists for the Belong Arena Clash League of Legends Championship. And to find out who will be facing them, the Clyde Claymores or the London Lionhearts, I am joined by Marit Chronicle Musin. Let's do this.
Do what?
Cast.
Oh,
Cast
yeah,
League of
no,
Legends.
that's why we're here, right?
Yeah,
I thought that was kind of a given. Why did you ask me what we were going to do?
I think I said let's do it rather than what are we going to do, but
No, I think you asked me.
answers on a postcard.
Anyway, I'm really excited about this. I think the first final showed us the level of play from the Claymores. From the Pirates. Keep getting these two mixed up, aren't I? And I'd love to see, there we go, what we're actually going to see from the Claymores here, because the Pirates really showed why they're such a strong team in their mid-game prowess. I think the early game was a little bit shaky, but mid-game, late game, the rotations, the way that they're playing around their opponents' win conditions, it was all very good. And now the question for me is, because I'm definitely going to see the Lionhearts as the underdog coming in here, with the Claymores, of course, being able to, as current victors, as current title holders, make it all the way here without dropping a single game.
So the way that you see it, we're going to end up with a rematch. If the form book is anything to go on, we're going to end up with a rematch of the Claymores against the Pirates.
I think one or two things can happen, right? Like either the Lionhearts are going to come out of nowhere and take that win, but I think that what we see earlier on, right, what we saw with the Pirates, because that was like, I was like, yeah, Pirates are probably going to win. They did so decisively. I'm expecting a 2-0 here, come out from our friends at the from the Claymores, because it's what we've seen thus far. It's usually the favourite wins. They're the current title holder. They beat Portsmouth last time. I think they're going to reach the finals here, 2-0.
It's a fair point. The Portsmouth Pirates certainly showed that they were the favourites in the last game, and the Clyde Claymores will be looking to retain their title. The Lionhearts, however, will be looking to play a Kingslayer, and we'll get to see just who is on those teams. We have got on the side of London Lionhearts, Regan, Chirutzu, Dino, Elite, Engan, and Sarah.
And
Sora?
Sora. And for the Clyde Claymores,
Sora.
I think it's Sora.
Sora.
Hoff, Patsy, Arup, Evan. It's Evan, right? Like, I'm not from... I was told this was Evan and Terrakio, because for me, it looks like Ian, I guess.
So for me, that's Ewan. We got told last week that one Ewan was actually one Evan.
Okay.
I don't know whether Ewan is also Evan or not, but I'm going to be saying
you're
Ewan.
from around here, right? Like, I don't know. I assume this is just like another British name that I don't know. It's just been thrown in there to confuse me. More importantly, I think that the Claymores, even though they're the favourite here, I think that they are kind of susceptible to target bans, as they have a lot of champions like the Singed that we saw last week. I don't think we can see it here because it was very scary, that they are a little bit reliant on, because they are much more focused on those picks. So I feel like maybe they're going to be susceptible to some counter banning here and there, but all in all, if the Lionhearts take this, that'd be kind of crazy to me.
Alrighty, we are into the pick and bans. Let's see whether or not those target bans come through from the Lionhearts to try and deprive the Claymores of some of their signature champions. Clyde have taken the Cassiopeia away from Chirutzu. The Lionhearts respond with the Jarvan ban.
Jarvan, we've seen him in every single game thus far. I mean, it's been 2, but fair enough. 100% of the time, able to flex him to both jungle and top. Recently, it's been mostly jungle. He's kind of fallen in popularity in terms of his top lane, as to no surprise, Singed gets taken out there as well, as one of Hoff's most played. I think it's like 200 games Singed and then 40 games of everything else. So he really likes Singed. He likes to throw around some poison, run. As Chirutzu's one of his strongest picks is, in fact, that LeBlanc has quite a high win rate on it. So see that taken away as well. And from the Claymores, they can do a couple of things. They can flex Zyra, which I think is really interesting, so I wouldn't mind a Zyra ban here, as it is the most played champion for Terrakio. Instead they go for the Ivan to target Evan, and Patsy can also play that.
We saw that banned away from Evan last week, so clearly something that he is comfortable with. This leaves a lot of champions open, of course, because we've got so many in this wonderful game of League of Legends now. But of all the 130 or so champions that Clyde Claymores could have gone for, they decide that of the champion pool, they've got to go for the man who pulls. It is Vladimir.
It's Vladimir, our transfusing Hemo mage. And Lionheart say, well, you go scaling, we go scaling, and they pick up Rise. That's fine, go tits for tat with that. You go for something that is going to be an absolute menace in the mid to late game. And we pick up 2. Well, so this is double AP. So you know what I want to see now, Greyheart, from the Claymores. There's only one thing that slots this well, this early on, into the jungle and into a double AP composition. It is Jungle Mundo. And they're not going to pick it, and they're going to look back the vault, and they're going to be like, actually, that caster was onto something. Because all jokes aside, I think that especially into a double AP composition, the magic resist that you get from Master Chism is just incredibly strong. And I would like to have seen that here. I think that we're going to see Urgot jungle. Although there is a lot of flexibility, you can flex the Vlad to top to mid, Urgot to mid and jungle. So the Claymores are not showing too much here. While I would love to see an aggressive jungler or go for something as scaling as the Lionhearts, because Lionhearts are like already showing their cards, but instead they go for Evan's comfort pick, which is that Nunu. But like Rise Karthus, that just pigeonholes you already. Like, if they get behind, you're going to have an atrocious time, but if not, you're going to outskill pretty much every composition out there.
The bottom lane has been completely ignored by the Clyde Claymores as they look to lock in their top laner, jungler, and mid laner. Meanwhile, on the opposite side of the Rift, we are going to see this final lock-in, and it is going to be yet more late-game scaling for the side of the London Lionhearts as they lock in Vayne.
So Vayne is also a flex pick for the Lionhearts, which I think is really cool, because both Dinogen and Jero play that a lot. Top lane Vayne is, of course, an absolute nuisance if you're a top lane player, and if you're the Vayne player, then you're having a really fun time. As we see the Caitlyn get taken away there. We saw last game how well that was done. I would also not mind a Lucian ban coming out here, because Caitlyn and Lucian, both of these champions, are known for giving Vayne a really hard time in that lane.
Could this be some mind games coming through from the Lionhearts? If you throw that Caitlyn ban down, make it look like, oh, we don't want this to play against Vayne in the bot lane, then boom, surprise, Dinojan's playing it in the top lane?
I would love that. I would not be. I would be surprised by that, because I feel like it is much more of a niche pick. But it could be something that can be done, and then you just pick up something like, there's the Tristana, there's the Xayah, there's the Sivir. There's just so much more carries that you can go for. I do feel like what the Claymores are currently doing is they're not really going for a punish as heavy as I would have liked to see, because this early game rotation coming out from the Lionhearts here is just, it's nothing but scaling, right? Like, every one of these champions needs to hit 2 items to be relevant in the game. And what I would have loved to see from the Claymores is what we saw the Preston or the Portsmouth Pirates do earlier on, where they go for something aggressive to make sure that the point isn't reached, but instead they kind of go for something somewhat scaling of their own, because neither Nunu nor Urgot nor Vladimir really hit that pike that early either, or their
Spike,
yeah, thank you. I don't think we're going to see Pike here, as Sylas has been on the receiving end for a lot of nerfs, so I don't mind that he's not seen as much. You called the London Lionhearts the Kingslayers earlier if they would have been able to pick up this win. Kingslayer was unfortunately nerfed heavily, not as bad as Abscond and Abduct, which would went from, I think, 12 seconds to a 18 seconds cooldown, which is not great. And Jenna is Patsy's most played champion, a Roop on a hyper carry. So I like the composition for the Claymores, but I feel like you're going to get outskilled, and you don't have a composition that can put out that much threat. So, based on draft, I feel like the Lionhearts tried to kind of call the bluff from the Claymores, said, we're going to commit early on extremely heavy. And Sona, same. Sona's going to scale absurdly well. She is level 11, and she just gets an efficient mana pool, makes it through the laning phase, which, against Jenna Jinx, I hope you do, because if not, I don't know what's happening. And then Sylas is the only one that really... Sylas is kind of a weird fit here for me. I understand that you kind of want some priority, but you don't really care that much about it. I mean, I guess Sylas gives your Karthus some support. But besides that, Lionhearts just go, we're going full scaling, and Claymores will go like, I guess we do as well, but then not as well, so that kind of scares me.
So, Mal, can we talk a little more about that Sona that you started to touch on? In our first series today, you told me that if you ban away the Taric, you're essentially negating any chance of seeing Sona in the game, because Sona's only really viable in that composition, but here we see it paired up with the Vayne going, into this hyper late game scaling composition.
So Sona's problem is that I think her base stats are like within the top 10 weakest of any champion early on. She's just insanely squishy. But if you're playing against... This is why I like it as a last picker as well, because necessarily a big fan of the Sona, but in a composition like this, where you can pick it late or pick it late in your rotation, right? Because you already know what's going to happen. You know you're facing a Braum or a Morgana or something that can at least somewhat punish you. Instead, you are, or Leona, which got actually some really big buffs today on the patch.
Yes.
But instead, you're facing Janna, Jinx, which you're not going to do anything. So I can pick Sona. I get a free scaling, and I think Sona really skills better than Janna. So now you have an issue where pretty much every lane skill... I think Vladimir is the only one... So Vladimir outskills Sylas, which is nice. But Sylas, that's kind of the point of him. He doesn't need to outskill. And then if you go to every other lane, jungle, going to get outskilled. Top lane, going to get outskilled. Bot lane, Jinx... against Vayne is not as clear-cut, but with the support of a Sona and with the powerful position that Vayne is in, I think Vayne is going to hit that power spike earlier. If Jinx can snowball, I think she's going to do better, but if not, I think you just have 3 scaling lanes that win on the side of Lionhearts. That's very spooky.
Game 1 of our series between the Pirates and the Invincibles earlier delivered us plenty of early kills, lots of action for me to shout about. It feels a little bit like we might as well chrono shift this one forwards about 10 minutes because both the teams are waiting for their compositions to come online. When they do come online and both the teams have scaled up, do you feel there's a team that maybe has slightly more edge in terms of what it can build up to? It feels really close to me.
It does, yeah. I think that the early power spikes are also going to be comparable, which is what I was... This is what I was unhappy about, right? As we see a lovely skin coming out there. But this is specifically what I'm not happy with, as I said before, is that the Claymore's power spikes... Okay, so got spikes on Black Cleaver, which is nice. And Nunu can make use of the new Cinderhawk, which is kind of okay, I guess. But Vlad, 2-item power spike... Arup, 2-item power spike. Patsy doesn't really have a big power spike besides, I guess, level 6 when she gets more survivability for her carry with Monsoon. But just in general, the Claymores, if they can get ahead, if they can snowball that Jinx, I think they're going to be in a good spot. But you have a Janna. You're not going to be able to snowball that lane, or you shouldn't be, even with Nunu, who loves snowballing stuff. And it's an easy joke to make, but it is something that genuinely worries me because Janna is really good in keeping your support alive, but she's not good at making sure that you deny scaling to an opposing champ. So I think the Lionhearts went for a greedy draft and the Claymores didn't call them out. And if the Claymores get ahead, if Jinx gets a couple of kills, there's also the issue of there isn't that much you see on the side of Lionhearts, maybe you Condemn. You have called the Sona Ultimate and Dynagen with the cage, but that's pretty much it, especially with the nerf to the E of Chiruzu. And he shouldn't, in teamfights, realistically, shouldn't be on top of someone like Arup, right? So there's still lots of opportunities, but then you get into, yes, but what about Karthus? Because late game Karthus is going to do bonkers damage, and that's not going to be very fun if you are the Jinx.
You talked there about how the Lionhearts drafted greedily and the Claymores didn't call them out on it. It feels a little bit like the Claymores are... They're essentially the self-confessed kings of late game after what they did to the Portsmouth Pirates in the last game, the last final, waiting for the late game to be able to really rip their opponents apart. However, in this game, it feels like maybe they're sort of a victim of their own style.
Well, it remains to be seen, right? Because maybe the Claymores are going to go for a more proactive style than I currently envision, but the broadside Scott has been picked up. It doesn't look like, even though they have a priority, which is interesting, a nice wave being built up here by Terrakio. But even then, they're just going to give over the topside Scuttle to Karthus. This is the kind of stuff, this is not something that Karthus should get away with against the Nunu, right? You have Consume, you have priority in your mid lane, you have priority in your top lane, but still, Trollodon can just walk in and pick that up. And
we saw Trollodon literally walking in and zoning off the Nunu, who was there attempting to contest it. He got better of that, just like right now, the shields coming through.
Oh, that's a lovely
trait.
Janna that's what I like to see.
That Claymores are getting the better of that early game down the bot lane, and a big CS advantage already being built up for Jinx.
The problem is, of course, that Yarrow is eventually going to be able to regen back that health, as Terrakio is going to give over some stacks, won't be in much danger, as Dynagen is forced to flash there as well. So early game going well for the Claymores, and they need to put pressure here.
Okay, so we are just about to hit the 4-minute mark, and the gold is exactly identical, but that might be about to change as Terrakio finds himself having to flash away. The Ignite was on his head, and one more little bit of damage coming through from Chiruzu could have been enough to find Sylas getting himself the first blood. Instead, Vladimir lives to die another day.
When was the last time that you saw a counter-jungling Karthus?
I'm not sure the answer maybe ever. Possibly Jankos. Jankos did a bit of counter jungling with his Karthus in the LEC, but that's about the only time I can think of.
And because of Terrakio's unfortunate trade there, nice game coming in from Trollodon earlier, we now see that I think Raptors are going to get taken away as well, meaning that we see Trollodon just feeling very comfortably at getting a Scuttle, you know, clearing Raptors with ward as well, and he still has to clear his own bot side jungle here.
Yeah,
so
Evan is finding himself a CS advantage, but that's purely because he was covering Terrakio in the mid lane, and this all led to him losing that part of his jungle.
And this is what I would have liked to see something more aggressive, right? Because I keep going on about this because I really want the Claymores to put more pressure on the lineouts as they do, because this isn't like, you know, you have a bit of early game, because that's what we saw last time with the Pirates, right? We went for a more all-round composition. Yes, you have the Sivir, which is nice, but you have some other and the Zilean as well. But this is just lineouts go Karthus Rise, Vayne in the first rotation, and I don't think there were that many like aggressive bans coming in either. So now the fact that they're actually able to get a 300 gold lead this early in the game on a composition like that, and get a 20 CS lead in mid lane, be even in CS on top lane, be ahead on Karthus jungle against the Nunu, those are all not great.
And at the beginning of all of that there, Mao, you said that you really wanted to see him do it, and I completely believe you, because you called Clyde Claymores to take this series 2-0. You are a man with an interesting history when it comes to predictions, and if people have been following us throughout the split, they'll know that you've not had the best of times of it, and if the Clyde Claymores don't manage to make this composition work, it might look a little silly, my friend.
I have no comment on that. In this specific scenario, I will concede that it would have been wrong. I still feel like this narrative of me always getting predictions wrong is something that you've been pushing since day one. I'm not sure why.
I mean, today,
like maybe
today might be the
you
proof
think I'm not a great co-worker or something, but then please just say that to me, because I put a lot of pride, you know, in my predictions, and if they're wrong, that can happen. Even though I do think in a lot of cases it's rigged. I know that I've not been in the UK scene for a long time, but everyone tells me, you know, Greyheart, he's got the connections. As Terrakio, he needs to be careful, because he's taking a lot of damage here.
Both Vladimir and the Sylas throwing down the hemorrhages, but it is very much so Chiruzu winning this one. The flash had already been used by Terrakio. He was unable to escape the Sylas, who does now secure the first blood.
He still had Ignite there as well. He didn't even need to use it. Just Terrakio's level 5, Chiruzu's level 7. He hits the Hemo Plague, and he just makes it so incredibly easy. And I'm just quite surprised by how easily the Lionites seem to be able to win this early game. And more importantly, yes, Sylas was heavily nerfed, but against someone like Vladimir, he's still going to feel unnerved, because Vladimir has such a weak laning phase pre-level 9.
You might think that first blood has got you out, you know, away from the fact that you basically just called me out there. So, you know, you wanted me to say it, so I'm going to say it. You aren't a good co-worker. You're a great co-worker.
Oh, that turnaround. No one saw that one coming.
No, but I mean, that is true. But I still maintain that with the predictions, things have not been going your way, and this may well be the main proof of it. I mean,
I might have overreacted a little bit there, Stan,
yeah.
Because I do feel, you know, threatened by your amazing prediction record, while mine is looking about as good as what the Claymores are showing thus far.
Yeah, I mean, it's not looking good for them. They're only 1,000 gold down, and they do still have a massive amount of scaling still to go.
We see that the bot lane is going well for them, though, which is promising. I don't know if it's a big enough for lead. I think 20 CS has already started. They can maintain that. That'd be very nice, because they will be able to hit their item spikes a little bit earlier. As what looks like a nice gank is just going to easily, even with the increased cooldown.
There is no such thing as a nice gank when Nunu bot is involved.
Yeah.
There is no more annoying laugh in the game.
I hope that CS disadvantage that Avan has is going to get taken care of once he gets to Cinderall, because the ease of which you can now power farm with that has really been improved with the buff to 300% on this patch, which is very nice. But he's 10 CS behind currently, which also means that by Trollodon, just on the back of those Gromps or the Cracks rather, and the Raptors that he was able to pick up, and this mid lane just keeps being a world of hurt for Terrakio. Perfectly timed Requiem isn't enough, but Patsy almost goes down. And
also, we see the Super Mega Death Rocket being thrown in the direction of Regan. He has to flash to get himself to safety. We do see a Dragon being secured by Nunu, getting that one for himself. I honestly thought as that Requiem came down, first I thought it was the death of Terrakio. He lives. Then I thought maybe we were going to see the Janna in a bit of trouble. She lives. And now it's going to be Chirutsu getting himself chased down. But guess what? He lives too.
3 people coming down. The flash is forced. And with the position of the wave currently in, I like the roam from Hoff here. He's not really in a position where, without knowing where Trollodorn is, can safely farm. Thanks to Dynogen's placing of the wave there. So we're going to see him go back, and this pressure I really love. On this back, I'm hoping that we see a big power spike for Arup. If they can get and maintain his lead over bot lane, I feel like it's going to kind of offset the disadvantage that they're in, because Vladimir is still going to outskill Charazu specifically, which is really nice. My main question is it going to be enough? And the answer thus far seems to be maybe. If he doesn't get punished. And this is the problem, right? Because what we saw there is Charazu. He's not dying, but he is drawing attention. Aven tries to make gank work on him, but doesn't find it. Hoff, I think that roam would have been good regardless, as I said before, because of the placement of the waves. But these are the kind of things that, if he keeps drawing pressure, he gives Dynogen and Trollodorn and also Yarrow and Reagan the time to just really scale up. They're going to be more than happy about it.
Is a repeat mid gank worth it for Evan now that he burnt that flash from Charazu last time round? Because Charazu just continues to overextend. Well, not overextend, he's extending. He's not overextending because he's not dying.
Exactly, he's constantly, which is what you want to do. Right? This is why Sylas is so strong. You just repeatedly shove in mid lane through your passive as you get so many procs. And yes, it's been nerfed, but we see here that it's still more than enough to deal with the weak laner likes of Vladimir as Nunibot makes his way into the jungle here. This first Cloud Dragon getting picked up is this. If this was a Mountain Dragon specifically, I feel like you would have been very happy with it, because a Mountain Dragon opens up possibilities of rushing Barons away, right? Which is always scary against the Lionhearts, but if you can get a Baron in before they're able to go for a big Realm War play, or before they are able to hit the Requiem, you're going to be very happy as we see a bot lane dive coming through.
This is all 5 members of the Clyde Claymores trying to make things work. Vayne uses the final hour, gets a decent bit of damage down towards Janna, still living for a while, but Terrakio managed to pick up the kill onto Yarrow. Meanwhile, Urgot chasing down Regan. The finishing blows are not going to be there though. The Fear Beyond Death had already been used, and Hoff does not manage to secure that kill. So all of that turret diving only ends up in a 1 kill and a first turret for the side of the Clyde Claymores. Meanwhile, Charazu just happily continuing his push in the mid lane, having taken down so many pieces of that turret plating.
Charazu's just ignoring the nerfs, because he's also picked up a Dark Seal. So he sees the patch, so so I'm just gonna still get all these things, because it doesn't really matter to me. In his position,
maybe it's because he really wants to Magize this game.
Exactly. To be fair, in his position, I like it, because the change to Dark Seal was meant to make it an item that you only get when you're snowballing, which is kind of what he's doing right now. So I don't mind that too much, as he has just gotten his free boots. And this is a nice swing from the Claymores, but all it's really done is even up the score. It hasn't built a lead yet, and Patsy is dead.
Condemn against the wall. The Ignite is going to burn down Patsy. The Janna drops, and now we're going to see Yarrow go down as well. Not a fair trade for the Lionhearts, who lose their ADC, only picking up a kill onto the support.
What is unfortunate to me is that bot lane dive was executed fairly cleanly, but the ones picking up the kills were Aven and Terrakio, right? We don't see the kills on Arup. He only has 2 assists, and he's the person you want these kills on, because Nunu and Vlad aren't going to do too much with it.
Here comes the re-engage. Teleport is going to be channeled. Rise looking for that rune prison. The sidestep across the Jinx Chompers. Now Evan getting himself locked down. It is going to be Regan stepping forward. It's Dynogen getting the kill onto Evan. Meanwhile, Jinx trying to do everything that she can, but she just cannot stay around, because that that lay waste.
Look at how close that was
from the Karthus is just so very, very damaging. But Karthus himself only escaping on a tiny, tiny bit of health. Meanwhile, Charazu is absolutely dominating the mid lane. A 43 CS lead, and he's got himself that kill, even though Terrakio himself has picked up a kill. We're going to see Patsy going down for the 2nd time in just a couple of minutes, caught out by the crescendo, and that's all she wrote.
And now the Lionhearts seem to accelerate the pace at a speed which I thought was not really possible with that comp. But
it's what we saw the Pirates doing in Game 1.
Exactly, and the pressure is just immense. We see Charazu about to take down a mid lane turret. We see that Yarrow and Reagan, especially for a Sona Vayne lane, are actually putting out a lot of pressure. There is still a sizable CS lead, and I feel like we need to look at the bot lane here for the Claymores to take them through, because Hoff is doing fine, but he's not doing enough. And maybe in teamfights, once he finishes Cleaver, we're going to see something that I think the Ignite tick is enough there.
I'm pretty sure it is. Terrakio stands still, accepts his fate. The Requiem was available as well, so even if he gets away from the Ignite, he's a dead man.
And it's such a big... this is what I'm worried about. The gold disparities are getting so incredibly big as Trollodorn Yeah, like even without Dynajan, I feel like it might have been in trouble there.
Arup, that is basically poor spelt backwards, and stepping forward there was unfortunately a poor decision.
Very quick thinking. This is why you're a great co-worker. It's not your focus on these predictions, it's quips like that. As we see the London Lionhearts take another Cloud Dragon, as we get a second in a row.
And it's going to be a third.
Yeah. You know,
Did not see that coming.
No, not at all. And 3 Cloud Dragon is not really where you can go for. Now the Archangel Staff is finished on Dynajan. We see Runic Echoes on Truladorn, who's starting to build towards that Oblivion Orb. And now this is where Amundo will come in very handy, because this is where the where the magic damage starts to ramp up. Actually, the Amundo intervene is not great, right? So I actually can see that would have been kind of awkward, but besides that, I still think it's a very good call. Charuzu here able to be 50 CS up on his opponent, 2-0. Insane pressure in the lane here, and it's also made it really hard for Evan to do something, because Dynajan is not really a great person to go for in terms of ganking, because the Rise is really mobile. Hoff has been kind of pushing that lane for quite a while as well, and bot lane is kind of the same, so bot lane now gets to scale up, while Truladorn, Dynajan and Charuza are already ahead, which means that Yero also kind of gets a pass, because Yero has had a rough game thus far, but it doesn't really matter if the rest of the Claymores can't punish, because of how strong the top side of the line are here right now. And I feel like this is a repeat of what we saw in game number 1 by the Portsmouth Pirates, where once their top side was ahead, it was so easy for them. And then, yes, eventually we saw that their bot lane got fed and started to carry, but they didn't really need to. And the same can be set for Lions here now, because these pikes are hit so early that I think that they're going to have quite an okay time, especially against the composition of the Claymores.
Knockup does land onto the Silas, however he quickly dashes away. Regan, however, might not be so fortunate, having to flash away from the Super Mega Death Rocket that Jinx had thrown out. The Herald was picked up by the side of the London Lionhearts. They've got themselves a 3,000 gold lead, and now that they've got Shelly in the pocket, they might be able to make it a little bit more.
And so Black Cleaver is now finished on Hoff, so maybe he can stop threatening Dynajan, who does not have a lot of armor, so shredding through whatever he has left is going to be very nice. Arup, saying it again, I think he is really the shining light in the darkness for the Claymores, because Terrakio is so far away from being relevant. I think he's going to eventually, hit his power spike, but it's still so far off. He just has a Fiendish Codex and a Kindle Jam. He's not anywhere near his first item. He's having a really hard time getting any CS, and now Evan is trying to do something in the river, which he really can't do with how far behind his team is.
Crescendo is going to land the flash already, having been burned by the Nunu. Requiem comes down. This one's passed over to Truladorn. Nice and easy. The teeny tiny snowball knock up onto Rise. Definitely not enough to help Nunu and Willump get to safety this time.
Without any vision, with Dynajan and Charuza as strong as they are, that's not the kind of things that you can really afford to.
Charuza's got a Super Mega Death Rocket, by the way, now.
Which is really good, right? Like 4 AP.
AP Super Mega Death Rocket, ouch.
It's probably going to be as effective as Jinx's AP, or Jinx's Death Rocket, right? Because she just, for her skills with AD, the skill with AP. Quite like it. And if there's the last thing that the Claymores are going to be happy about facing, it's not only the finishing power of a Requiem, but also that of, in conjunction with that, a Super Mega Death Rocket. That's not great.
Little update, we have now got 5 stacks on the Dark Seal of Silas. Perhaps we'll be looking towards that Magize if this game goes later and he continues to be strong.
Also for Dynajan and Truladorn.
Yep, so basically we got 3 Magize incoming. That's what we've got to look forward to.
If we actually see 3 Magize,
I mean, it's so more likely they're there just to boost the refillable potions.
I know, but even then, actually, I think in case of Dynajan and Charuza, wouldn't mind. I think with Truladorn, there's situations where as Carthage you just want to like flash in and die, right? Because you're fine with that in certain situations.
Flash cannon Carthus.
Exactly. Well, not even, but like if it's a choke point or if your team is in a disadvantaged position, you just need to get in, get your defile ticking. I would not mind that, so I think that in his case, I'd rather not go for the Magi's. But especially Dynajan and Charuza, it doesn't look like they're anywhere close to dying with Lich Bane now finished. Oblivion Orb done for both Truladorn and Dynajan, so they're incredibly strong. And the Claymores, they don't really have anything in the way of Maul. We start now seeing the Spectre's Cowl, but I don't think it's going to be enough against a combination of Sword Pen shoots And those Oblivion Orbs.
And at the end of the day, you've still got a Vayne to deal with on top of all of that. So if it's not enough that you're eating magic damage for days, you're also going to have all of that true damage and, percent health damage even coming through from the Vayne. The Herald is summoned in the top lane. That's going to be the second turret of the game that the London Lionhearts have got. Yet again, gaining themselves small advantages across the map. They have now got themselves near a 5,000 gold lead. No second charge for Shelly though, but Yarrow continuing this push in the mid lane. So the bot lane, she's also got the Crescendo to help her out. And easy kill, courtesy of a Condemn into a turret. The teleport is too little, too late from the Urgot, and he will just be able to defend the turret, but not his Vladimir.
Draco having an incredibly rough game here, not even able to use his flash, use his pull, just get stun locked first. The Sona Crescendo and then followed up by Condemn. Nothing he can do, as we see. Fortunately, it's a Cloud Dragon, so as the Claymores, you're going to kind of take that as a nice, happy little present from the Rift. But what I was talking about before is the Claymores have a composition that is going to get outskilled. Like, there is just no question in my mind that they're not going to be able to keep up with the Lionhearts. And then falling behind against a competition like, yes, there's 2 Cloud Dragons, which you don't really care about, but look at the levels, look at the item spikes. London Lionhearts generally across the board 1 or even 2 levels in some cases ahead. Only the bot lane is relatively even there, and it's really this bot lane that we keep coming back to. Arup needs to fight in his team fight, needs to get the passive, needs to get excited, but there is so much to make that hard for him, and just execution coming out from the Lionhearts is really impressive to me as they start to slowly choke him out. Even, like stuff like picking up this blue buff, like punishing Evan early on, who really hasn't been able to find anything here on the Nunu, which I can't really blame him for, because it's hard to set up for the or it's okay to set up for the Urgot, but it's kind of rough, and mid lane is just getting absolutely demolished, so it is tough for him as well. But just in general, the Claymores seem to be kind of lost, and I would be scared because I have a hard time imagining how you're going to win regardless, because the only way I see it is you need to get a big Nunu ultimate on top of a Hemo Plague, on top of a Super Mega Death Rocket, right? But setting that you don't have like a Jarvan, you don't have a Camille, you don't have a Galio to actually set that up. The only thing you have is a Jenna who specializes in keeping people away from you, but that doesn't do that much against their opponents, right? Because specifically the Karthus, like, he didn't really care if you monsoon him, right? He's just going to walk back in.
Yep, you're completely right, and we just saw, you talked about Terrakio having a bit of a rough game. He just took one, I don't think it was even a full combo from the Rise, and lost half of his health. This game only getting worse for the Vladimir, unfortunately. Meanwhile, Evan finally able to secure a little bit of his jungle, but he needs a babysit of 2 people to even be able to take a grump.
It's nice that he gets escorted. It's very friendly of him. It's not great, in terms of being in a good position in the game, but it's very friendly.
It is friendly, and right now it's the Lionhearts' turn to pay their attention to the friendly Baron, clearing out the remaining vision around the big purple worm, looking to secure that buff for themselves. If they were to get that, it feels like they would be able to push this game very, very close to its conclusion. One small little bit of relief for the Claymores is the fact they did get that first Cloud Dragon, so at least the Lionhearts aren't just that much crazy speedier than them.
Yeah, as a Chiruzu is probably going to be able to dash away. Dashes in a straight line. Not a huge fan of that.
That was the Prometheus school of running away there. Just keep on going no matter what's coming at you and hope that the giant donut doesn't crush you to pieces. But it didn't matter at the end because the knockup comes through despite it all. And you know what? Chiruzu's still basically full health, and he has been one of the real big difference makers in this team.
He's still 80 CS up, and I know that people say that Silas falls off, but if you're, I guess it's actually, it's 90 CS, which is even worse. If you're 90 CS up over your lane opponent, then it's not going to matter too much that you fall off. I love that they wait with the Baron here. I would have much rather seen them go for it once Yarrow has his Rage Blade, because it's going to make it so much easier. Once you get that Silver Bolt proc on every second hit, you're just going to shred through that Baron so much more efficiently. Like, Vayne does it well just on the back of Silver Bolts and the fact that she already has that Blade of the Ruin King, and Karthus is quite good as like shredding it down as well. But just wait a little bit. You don't need to be greedy here because you're 6.5 or almost 6.5k gold ahead with a scaling composition, which is pretty crazy.
London Lionhearts looking to take the first game of this series. Remember, of course, that in the grand final at Insomnia 64, whoever takes this best of 3 will be going up against the Portsmouth Pirates, who secured their place earlier by taking down the Preston Invincibles. So far, this game is level at 0 games apiece. However, the London Lionhearts have really found themselves with a stranglehold on game 1.
And here we see Dynagen. Yeah, there's the problem. Even with the adaptive helm, I don't think it's going to be able to really sustain through the continuous damage coming out from Dynagen. And if he have no sideline pressure, because he's also 40 CS behind, it's going to make it really hard. We now see them try and go for something, and this is again where the Jenna pick I don't really like, because it's going to make it so much like being in a proactive position with a Jenna is so hard, because she can't do that. It's not what the champion is designed to do. And considering how late it was picked in the draft as well, I understand that it's a comfort pick for Patsy, as we see them make a play on Dynagen, but with the skills whiffing, I don't think they can go for it. But look at this, getting started up by the Lionhearts.
Dynagen steps away to safety, and despite the Rage Blade has just been completed. This leads to the Baron being started up. It's going to be Evan stepping forward, doing his very best to help this fight go his team's way. Unfortunately, he has to flash the wall defensively, because the 5 members of the London Lionhearts are upon the Clyde Claymores, and that, even though it doesn't mean a Baron, does mean a missing summoner spell for the Nunu. Yet again, they get the worst of a trade.
We see the Hex Trinket, love that from Arup, nice itemization there. You just need it against the incredible onslaught of AP damage that you're facing, but it does mean that you're going to be a little bit further away from these item spikes that you really want to be hitting as the Infernal Dragon comes down, and that's one that the Lionhearts are going to be very happy with. Rage Blade is now finished on Yarrow, so he's going to feel a lot more comfortable. There is still a sizable lead for Arup, but the rest of his team is so far behind that it doesn't really matter that he has a small advantage, because the rest of his team is just going to melt completely through the insane sustain and burst damage coming out from the Lionhearts. And Reagan is now also reaching the point which we just saw just now. Like, they were pretty much half health, and just the sustain from the Sona makes it so much easier now that she's finished. Arden says to do it regardless, right? They just get healed up so quickly again, and Sona's only going to get better and better as she gets more CDR, gets more mana. And I think the Claymores, I know we're talking about the champions here, but it's going to get rougher and rougher for them from here on out, and with how rough the game is already looking, that's not a great prospect.
Game 1 not looking good for the Clyde Claymores yet again. The Baron is in the sights of the Lionhearts as they clear out as much vision as possible. So many key power spikes have now been hit for the London Lionhearts that we've been talking about, and the Baron is getting shredded really, really quickly. Already lost a third of its health, and it feels like Clyde Claymores have just going to pick this one up. Nunu opting into the recall. True Dawn takes a blast cone over, styles it out with the smite at the end. Very, very nicely played by the Lionhearts as they find themselves a really crucial pickup to continue this snowballing this game out of control. You've talked about how this Janna, it's not optimal for the situation that the Claymores are in, that they struggle to find the engage. The same feels like it's true of every champion apart from the Nunu. It's all they have, that hope that he can run it down, bring that snowball in and get a knockup, because if that doesn't connect, how do they start a winning fight? Or any fight?
Well, that's is exactly the problem, right? Because what do you want to do in a situation where you're this far behind? You want to try and force things when you can, but you can't really force things. You don't really have the team come for that. And I think that Arup, can he stay alive, get the procs with the Renance, with his Infinity Edge, get some big team fights going, get excited. There's always the possibility of Jinx just completely popping off in a fight, and he does have a sizable front line, especially now that we see the Spirit Visage finish as well, a lot of Mercury threads, like that's all fine and dandy. But just the raw AoE damage coming out from the Lionhearts, just the damage from the Rise that's just going to bounce around your team. If I get Trollodorn is going to use both his Defar and a lot of other things. And we do see the Flash being forced. This is a great start.
Evan running down, using that snowball to try and get the engage, but the massive 3-man crescendo from Regan buying his team some time. Arup does have damage and is chasing down the Sona. Gonna get excited. Meanwhile, Rise continuing the push in the bot lane, does not have the teleport and cannot join the team. Urgot's managed to take down the Karthus, and as the Requiem comes in, it is going to be Silas who takes down Urgot as well. Rise is continuing his push though. He is onto the inhibitor turret, and even though the fight has been won by the Clyde Claymores, the objectives are being taken by the Lionhearts.
Because Dynagen was just pushing bot lane and doesn't get tagged by the big snowball there. Avon actually needs to be careful here, as Dynagen is a speedy Gonzalez as he makes his way down to this bot lane. And this is a 2-for-1 trade, which is good on the back of a very spread out fight from the Lionhearts, and also, again, the fact that one of their big carries wasn't even there. And there is a lot invested, which provides some opportunity, but then if stuff like this keeps happening, I don't know how much opportunity you're going to need, because they can just get away here.
Dinojan continues his push to the bot lane, now tries to turn the damage back onto a Root, but not able to get the kill onto the Jinx, who instead gets a shutdown onto the Ryze. Vayne, however, takes a turret in the mid lane on the back of Sylas, already having taken that final inner turret in the top lane. More and more gold in the pocket of the Lionhearts. They have lost 3 of their Baron buffs now, and they need to be careful. Hemorrhage thrown down by Terrakio. He's not quite able to catch on to the Sylas, who's just able to step away from danger, and now we are going to see a bit of a reset coming in from the Lionhearts.
So the Claymores have okay wave clear, specifically Jinx, once she turns on a rocket launcher, is going to shred through waves very quickly, although Baron waves are always kind of a difficult thing to go through. You also have the Janna shield to try and keep you alive, but the problem is that the Lionhearts have so many threats because they have Charazu, who's a threat in of itself. They have Dinojan, who, yes, he oversteps there, because I feel like he got a little bit over eager. I feel like he could have disengaged there after Nunu Snowball hadn't hit, but he got greedy for an inhibitor. So it's not perfect, the play that we're seeing from the Lionhearts, but they have so many threats on their end. Like Yarrow is starting to now come online. Charazu is so fat that he's still going to be relevant for, say, the next 5 to 10 minutes, even though Sylas generally isn't a champion that does that. And, well, Trollodon and Dinogen need no explanation, honestly. And that makes it so hard. This is the kind of mistakes you can't afford, though.
Trollodon caught out, Fear Beyond Death, pulling the Karthus back down. We're not even going to see a Requiem channeled this time by the jungler of the London Lionhearts, as they accept that that was a misplay, and straight away we see most of the side of the Lionhearts stepping away, going to give over this Ocean Dragon. But as it happens, Sylas continuing the push in the top lane. I'm not entirely sure, I think his Baron buff has expired now, but he finds himself pushing into the Urgot so freely.
And I don't think Hoff can win this 1v1. I don't think he's really looking to it. Just want to make sure that the tower stays alive, because he can actually clear the wave, because Sylas has not the greatest of pressure against him with the itemization that we currently see. Ocean Drake, like you say, getting it picked up by the Claymores, and these kind of mistakes that we see from the Lionhearts, they can't afford to keep making. Yes, they have scaling into position, yes, they're ahead, but if the Lionhearts keep having their jungle just randomly walk in, it's not going to go great. But this is the kind of pressure that the Claymores have been facing the entire game, and Terrakio just gets blown up. They get a turret as well, and this pressure from the Lionhearts is just incredible. And look at these CS numbers as well. Only in the bot lane is it looking good. Mid lane is incredible. Jungle is incredible. Just the top side of the half of the Lionhearts, just insane in this game.
Credit to the Lionhearts' decision making has been on point, seeing the side of the Claymores, picking up that kill onto Trollodon, turning their attention towards the Ocean Dragon straight away. Yarrow goes, okay, you're taking that, well, I'm going to take the second inhibitor turret of the game. And though an inhibitor hasn't dropped down, now we do see the 4 men of the Lionhearts just pressuring down in the bot lane, and it looks like they're going to be quite easily able to pick up their first one of the game.
He's just able to get away.
He just dashes away from whatever he wants to. Trollodon's going to be rejoining the team, and now they can turn their attention towards the second exposed inhib in the mid lane.
This is exactly the problem, right? The pressure that they're able to put out. There is a nice disdain, though.
It might be the Fear Beyond Death being channeled. That is going to be a dead Charazu dying for the first time this game. Unlike the Pirates in the last game, the Lionhearts have at least got a death apiece, and now they might have another one as well, because Snowball is going to land on a Dinojan. He's going to be trying to get himself to safety. Gets caught in the absolute zero, and that's going to be the Hemorrhage throwing down. In the end, the Super Mega Death Rocket is what knocks down the Ryze. Now we see a double kill coming in for the Ryze. Is this the throw from the London Lionhearts? Because triple kill for the Claymores. Here comes the Requiem. It's going to be 1 kill. Vladimir, for the 5th time in this game, is going to have to wait it out in the fountain. But now finally some turrets are going to go over to the side of the Claymores. They don't manage to get the turret, but they might turn their attention towards the Baron that has just spawned at the perfect moment. Only the Sona remains to try and contest this.
And we keep talking constantly about can't overstep. There is always the risk of a Jinx getting excited, and they find it. The Claymores, you call them the masters of the late game, and if they're able to pick up the Baron here, as they only get hit by the Crescengo by 1 person, they're going to be fine. They might lose a Nexus turret for this with how the wave's currently standing, but with the Baron and Pound recall, I think they're going to be fine. But more importantly, the Lionhearts have been floundering for, say, the last 5 minutes. Just, yes, they're also putting a lot of pressure on, but people getting caught, overextended. This is a huge, massive snowbally fight. I mean, the gold lead for the Claymores, or rather the deficit for the Claymores, is getting smaller and smaller. And yes, I think they're still in a 5v5 team fight going to get outskilled, but Arup, 5-1-4, amazing performance, finished the Morphmon Mortiers, also has the QSS available now. If he can get one more of these team fights, I think they can just end, especially with Baron buff.
Charazu there getting caught out by Hoff, who has time and again managed to keep himself alive, managed to keep himself relevant in his game. Getting the solo kill against the super strong mid laner led to the fight that then broke out. Ryze getting caught out by Nunu, Evan managing to make that one piece of hard CC that the side of the Clyde Claymores have. He used it to great advantage, and actually Clyde Claymores, I mean, we've both said it now, kings of the late game. Lionhearts want to be the Kingslayers. They've got to find a way to beat Claymores at their own game, because we are 34 minutes into the game now.
The Void Staff and the Ender is now finished by Truladorn. Loving the atomization. They really do need it as well. They need to make sure that the healing isn't too much. They need to make sure that they can cut through all this itemized MR. And let's not forget that the Lionhearts, in my opinion, still in a favourable lead here, because even with Baron buff, the only thing you can really do here as the Claymores is push back the waves, because there's still going to be a lot of threat on you. But I want to see the Lionhearts have a clear game plan and execute a little bit more cleanly, as opposed to Truladorn getting caught taking Krugs. You know, that's the kind of thing you just can't afford against the Claymores. And I think that Hoff really deserves a lot of credit here as well, because it's often on the back of his Fear Beyond Deaths that these fights get started, that people underestimate the damage he's able to put out, how fast he shreds through these people. And Yarrow, we haven't seen a real team fight yet where Yarrow can just be in the back line, especially with his Phantom Dancer now finished, and just do his thing, because we saw that already, how fast he was able to chew through Evan, and that was with no front line. So I'm still scared for the Claymores, but if Arup can find one more team fight like that, if we can get a big Hemo Blake from Terrakio, followed up by an Absolute Zero, maybe get yourself, you know, a Fear Beyond Death, and then Arup coming in big while Patsy keeps him alive, there still is opportunity for the Claymores to turn this around.
We're past 35 minutes now, Mao, and a crucial spawn is about to occur. The Elder Dragon stepping onto the Rift for the first time in this game. Both teams have got themselves a handful of dragons, 3 for the Lionhearts and 2 for the Claymores. And as this crucial objective comes up, whoever gets that Dragon Bird could really clean up a team fight.
And it's looking like the Lionhearts are just going to be able to get it, and I'm not sure if the Claymores can really... They don't want a 5v5. Like, even with how well it's been going thus far, these kills were picked up on the back of picks, and then more picks, and then just snowballing it from there. And if they try to go for that here, I don't think that's going to work. I think that...
But can they afford to just give it over, though?
I don't think they can, but I don't think you can contest it either. So
I mean,
you're just going to have to deal
doesn't
with
have
it.
teleport, Dinojan does, so this could easily turn into a 5 versus 4 in favour of the Lionhearts.
You have so much sustain as well from Reagan.
Yep, Elder Dragon already down below half health.
They shouldn't be able to get this because you're facing Consume Smite. So Nunu needs to die or taken away from this fight, or you're basically just giving it over for free.
Karthus versus Nunu, and of course, as you say, Mal, Nunu wins. That is going to be a massive Elder Dragon buff onto the Clyde
I'm
Claymores.
baffled.
They turn their attention towards the mid lane. They're finally going to get that outer turret. Meanwhile, the push has been going on in the bot lane, but that's not going to reach the Nexus turret. And the Clyde Claymores keep getting themselves late game wins.
I'm so confused. Like, it's Nunu. Like, if there's one thing that Nunu does well, it is specifically securing objectives. And I would have loved to see a teleport flank coming in there from Dinojan. You know, just go in big, try to find a play there. Truladorn going in, like anything. Just don't freely do an Elder Dragon while there's a Nunu literally standing right there. You're not going to chew through him fast enough if you try to kill him as he approaches, right? Because that's what I think they try to go for. Either you do that, or you pull him to the dragon and force a team fight. They did neither of that, and now they've lost a Baron and a team fight and an Elder Drake while they're ahead with a scaling composition. And I'm just baffled by the forms that this game has taken, and it's incredible to me that the Claymores are still in this.
Beyond confusing decision making coming in, and one team that will be glad to see the sort of errors that are coming in this game is surely the Portsmouth Pirates, who you have to assume are watching this game, scouting out their potential opposition, whether that be the Claymores or the Lionhearts, who they're going to face at the Insomnia 64 final, and they must right now be going, yeah, we can win our 6th trophy.
What I love from the Lionhearts is that they recognize that the Claymores are this team that loves the late game, and it just they go all in on it, right? Like, say, okay, well, you want to go late game? We're going to go late game.
We're going to go more late game.
Exactly, but now the problem to me is that now we are starting to reach a point where Charuza isn't a legitimate threat anymore. We're starting to reach a point where it doesn't matter that you're behind as the Claymores, because we're starting to approach a point where everyone just has 6 items anyway, so it doesn't matter, right? We see that Terrakio, yes, he's had an atrocious game thus far, but he's still, now he's a Vladimir with, you know, Deathcap and Zonyas.
We've seen 3 Dark Seals be sold.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good call with how this game's been going. I don't mind that specifically, but... And Yarrow not able to make a big impact this game, but I'm mostly disappointed in Trulodon and Dinogen, and just in general, the Lionhearts, the way that they've approached this game for like the last, I think, 10 minutes, like starting 25 minutes. And that's what kind of baffles me, but this is the kind of plays that I want to see. A lot of pressure coming through here. Can they cancel the backs?
Dinogen looked like they Dinogen and Chirutsu looked like they were able to secure the inhibitor just as easy to like steal away Urgot's ultimate. And with the Baron just spawning, the side of Clyde Claymores are split. The Elder Dragon has worn out. They did not get a single attempt at a fight, not a single attempt at a turret, apart from that mid lane outer turret they secured right on the back of the dragon. Oh, but Chirutsu takes some really questionable not as questionable as Terrakio's positioning, unfortunately. That's Rise that takes down the Vladimir, but now Chirutsu is gone as well. Vayne takes down the Janna, Karthus executes the Jinx, and now this fight has just been completely turned on its head. The London Lionhearts have absolutely cleaned house. Urgot will come back, but he'll be gone very shortly.
Now they can just end, which is the most anticlimactic ending to a game that I've ever seen, because I feel like the Claymores kind of deserved this win, not because of the draft, which I think had a lot of issues showing, but just how well they were able to punish the mistake from the Lionhearts. But they take one bad team fight, unfortunately, with really greedy pathing from the Claymores, as they get caught off guard by Dino-chan and Chirutsu, who you know are coming from that inhib because they just took it down. And we're going to see the London Lionhearts take game 1 over the Clyde Claymores here, and it's been kind of a messy first game. But what's more important to me is the way that the Lionhearts read the Claymores. Yes, the execution wasn't as clean as I personally would have liked, but in the end, they are actually able to just take a game from the champions here. And I feel like there's a lot of issues that the Claymores need to solve for game number 2.
Yeah, I'm disappointed in this hand, but I'm happy in this hand. I'm disappointed because I love an exciting end to a game. There's nothing better than that final team fight where you get to shout everything that's happening. Not only did I not get to shout everything that's happening, I also didn't have a clue what was going on. As Chirutsu walked up the river, I was like, oh, he's isolated. Oh, wait, no, he's got to Rise. They're just going to delete Terrakio and then clean up the rest of the fight. So it was, like you say, anticlimactic.
Yeah.
And after a game of near 40 minutes, you want more than that.
It is a very fitting end to this game, though, because it wasn't the cleanest of games.
Here's the other hand, though. And this is my happiness hand.
Is it that Mao got another prediction wrong?
Yeah, you said 2-0 to the Claymores. And if the Claymores are to get themselves back to the final, to have their rematch that certainly the Pirates very much so want, they are going to have to come back and reverse sweep, which they have done in the past, but they're going to have to do it against this Lionheart squad.
Here's a question for you. Imagine that you're the Pirates, and the Claymores don't actually make it to the finals. Are you going to be happy or sad? So say you face the Lionhearts.
I think it's bittersweet. I think this is now essentially their nemesis team, and they're watching them in this game falling slightly on their faces, and so that probably brings you a certain amount of joy. But at the same time, you want the sort of big anime showdown in the final.
To have them go crazy.
One more win for the Lionhearts, and that won't happen.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if that is what we're going to see here, because the draft was something that I was really worried about last time for the Claymores, and I want to see them switch it up now. I don't want them to allow the Lionhearts to commit this early for this not over-aggressive, but like overly scaling composition, and have them work with it.
All right.
Because last time...
Yeah, well, we got into this champ select really quickly, so not a huge amount of time for the Claymores to reflect on what they need to do differently. They're still banning that Cassiopeia first. On the other side, Jarvan and Caitlyn are being taken away.
Like those bans, to me, this signals Lionhearts, they see last game, say, okay, well, obviously, our execution was a little bit off at times. We made a lot of mistakes. In the end, we still able to clinch out the win. But I can't imagine that you're going to feel like you're... The main thing for me is like I'm giving them a hard time because those first 25 minutes was so impressive to me. The fact that they're able to get this far ahead with a scaling composition in the early game was just handled exquisitely, and then to have them flounder as much in minute 25 to 30 or 40 rather 50 minutes where it's just kind of that they give up a lot of stuff. They give up a Baron, they lose a really sloppy team fight, they give up an Elder Dragon as well to a super predictable steal, and just in conclusion, they get the game though. They get the win. They're in a comfortable position in this best of 3. They're going to secure that thrash immediately for Regen as the Clyde Claymores. Bannerway Rise, I like that, but I don't think it was necessarily Dinogen on Rise that was the real issue. It's a threat, definitely, but I'm personally more worried about Dinogen going for something scaling again, because that's the problem. Like, Dinogen is a player that plays the Nessus, that plays the Vayne, as we said previously, that plays the Jax. I don't think the Ryze necessarily was the issue here. It was the Claymores not really trying to contest the greedy draft, and this time the Lionhearts are going to have a lot more flexibility, because Claymores are going to lock in 2 now, and then if Lionhearts answer with, say, like other scaling things like the Jax, like the Kill, like the Vayne, once again, you can't really, the Tristana, you can't really do anything about it as the Lionheart, or as the Claymores rather, as we see the Urgot and the Morgana getting picked up by them.
So the London Lionhearts, despite the flaws that they had near the end of the last game, the mistakes that were made, they still went to the Clyde Claymores and dethroned them certainly in that game, even if not for the series. And they did it playing the opposition's own game. It feels like they're flipping the coin now and going for something really, really different. The Thresh, the Rek'Sai lock-in, we've got so much more of the game potential.
I like that as well. I feel like hopefully the Claymores wouldn't have been able to punish them for what was the last time. So this is Taliyah getting picked up. This is Taliyah mid. Unfortunately, I love Taliyah. Love to see Taliyah jungle as well, but Rek'Sai can't go anywhere else, unfortunately, for all of you Taliyah jungle fans and me out there. So we're going to see Taliyah mid. She has not been as popular as she used to be, but she still has what she always used to have, a lot of threat. I think into a Morgana, I'm not the biggest fan of it, because Taliyah is one of those champions that is really reliant on hitting the seismic shove, on finding the unraveled earth, and you're not really going to find that as well against an AD carry that's going to have a black shield on top of them. Zoe is... I think that's a really fun matchup to watch, because if Taliyah can get close, if she can hit a seismic shove, Zoe just gets demolished. But if Zoe can keep her safety, keep her distance, then we're going to see something else. I would have loved to see something like an Azir as well, because I know that Chiruzu plays that, and it's something that was buffed again this patch, but unfortunately, not the case.
Seismic Shove versus Sleepy Trouble Bubble in the mid lane. Meanwhile, we'll have those dueling supports. It will be Bindings versus Hooks in the bottom lane. Now we get to have a little look at what's being banned away for this second phase, with no ADCs picked up just yet. Both Ezreal and Vayne get removed from the champion pool. I personally feel like this is good decision making from the Claymores.
I'm very happy that we see the Vayne getting taken away. And the Jax as well, as I mentioned previously, one of Dinogen's favourite scaling top laners. Still leaving the kill open, which was heavily nerfed as the Civic gets taken away for the Claymores. And Arup was really the knight in shining armour last game. In the end, it wasn't enough, but I feel like he was really the linchpin of trying to get it done after all, right? So trying to get back into the game, getting excited as Jinx, and Kai'Sa fulfills the same role. So I'm a big fan of that. I feel like it, especially with the Morgana, has even more survivability, because Jinx is, barring a passive, of course, not nearly as mobile as the Kai'Sa's with Killer Instinct, with the stealth that she's able to go into. And Tristana getting picked up here now as well.
Yeah, we see that lock-in come in. Looking at the Claymore squad, it feels like they have a real mix of both early and late game damage. What are you looking for coming out of the jungler for them in this game? Would you like something that's going to enable even more so in the early game, or something that maybe scales up a bit more?
I would like to see, especially looking at the Lionhearts composition here, something that can match the Rek'Sai early on. Although this is also, like as the Claymores here, you need to invest something in the early game, because what you've seen last game as the kill does get picked up there is that you need to shut him down. Loving the Skarner though, it's not as early game as a lot of other junglers, but it is something that can duel relatively well, right? Impale is going to be super useful to the Taliyah, or to use on the Taliyah and the kill. So there are ample opportunities here for the Claymores to make something work. I think Skarner, I like the pick. I think it also gives you some additional front line. It kind of safeguards Arup as well, because say that a Tristana tries to jump in, which is something that can happen. Can also go for an Impale. Ideally, you'd start off a fight with a Dark Binding or a Sleepy Trouble Bubble, which also means that if Evan doesn't have the pressure to like flash Impale in, which is usually how with Skarner kind of want to start the fight, then it also stays available to pick up a kill, pick up a Tristana, like somewhere later in the fight.
All right, both teams seem to have built themselves up a composition where if they get themselves ahead, they could potentially run with it. For the Lionhearts, that could be running themselves all the way to the Arena Clash finals. For the Claymores, it could be running themselves to a Game 3, which is certainly what our defending champions will be hoping for.
It's actually a lot of pressure on the
huge amount of pressure.
Here. And Lionhearts is just like, well, we won Game 1. If we lose this one, no problem.
Yep, they've got some room to play with, whereas the Claymores, they have run out of room. They know that if they make just a few small mistakes, it will be the end
It's not a good place to be
of
in.
their title run.
It'd be like if you have a prediction streak and you just always get everything wrong.
Alright, the teams are running themselves out onto the rift. So far, it is the side of the Clyde Claymores keeping themselves as one compact unit, perhaps looking for a pickup. If they're to find Tristana in this tri-bush, it could mean a bit of trouble for the Yordle girl.
We see Avan going for the Predator here. I've seen Conqueror Skarner as well. I'm personally more of a fan of the Predator, as Yara already gets tagged there, just levels the W, rocket jumps out of there, so he's not in the worst of spots. Not sure if I want to see a level 1 play against the Morgana.
Or the flash forward from Urgot. He gets the flip, and it's going to be First Blood going over to the Kaiser. Arup starting the game just as he'd want to.
I don't know why you'd contest the level 1 of a...
Five men against 4 men without an ADC.
Yeah, and
what?
Yeah, and also like I think Dark Binding in this situation is better than Hook as well.
The Dark Binding narrowly missing against Kale, but in the end it was that flash from Urgot that really made the kill.
Yeah, you know, flash disdain, just like, oh, come here you.
Flash.
And it works very well.
I can't say the last F word.
And unfortunately for the Lionhearts, they start the game with a 600 gold deficit, which is pretty much ideal for someone like Arup, who's like, well, last game I was kind of the carry, you know, it was on my
100%.
shoulders, and now I'm on a scaling carry, and I got a first kill. It's very good.
Ideal situation. Also with that rocket jump being levelled first for Yara, a little bit of a disadvantage for the early pushing potential of this Tristana, so let's see just how much Clyde Claymores can abuse this lane.
Yeah, because the early level 2 is also, I think, not going to be hit because you're...
I hate that interaction. Can I just go on record and say that if that binding lands, you shouldn't be able to rocket jump afterwards?
I agree, but this lane is already tough enough now, especially with the First Blood getting picked up. I think, to my knowledge, Arup hasn't gone back, so the power spike hasn't yet been hit. But with how... I mean, Fresh is kind of in between ranged and melee, right? Like, he fits a little bit, but Morgana Kaiser is always going to outpush that early on until Tristana gets a couple of levels in her explosive shot. So we're going to see some pressure here. We see that Avan is already pushed back, and already we see vertical jungle going on as Avan is in the blue side jungle, and Trolladorn is taking the red side jungle. So nothing too surprising there.
Flay lands onto Arup. Black Shield immediately present from the Morgana. Patsy had a really solid game in the last game. Now we do see in the top lane the flip onto Dynajan. Urgot trying to get this early kill. The flash already, remember, burned on the Kale, who was trying to get out of harm's way early on, and now finding herself really pushed out in lane.
And Calypso Kill is going to scale incredibly well, but Urgot is going to get so much pun here as they go on the Arup.
Flash, play, rocket jump, Rek'Sai. The flash comes in for Arup, but it is not enough to keep himself alive. Both summoners used and a dead Kai'Sa. That kill being handed over to Tristana is perfect for the Lionhearts.
And if Avan is in the opponent jungle and they don't see him there, they should either ward or they should make sure that they otherwise know that vertical jungling isn't happening. Because if they do know vertical jungling is happening, you 100% know that this gank is going to come through. So a misread there by the Claymores, either not aware that the vertical jungle was in fact happening, as we see a Sleepy Trouble Bubble is fortunately going to get tanked by a bunch of minions, but they will have Avan there.
That's fortunate, but what's not quite so fortunate is the positioning of the Skarner. The E going just wide, and this does mean that Truzu has a chance to flash to safety. Talia keeping herself alive by a thread. Meanwhile, the Fresh lands to safety, and now the regank is in. Evan trying to flash himself away, but he's got no blast cone. The flash forward from Trulladorn, and that is going to be the jungler of the Lionhearts taking down the jungler of the Clyde Claymores in his own home turf.
And Trulladorn and Reagan both having quite a good game thus far. Loving the roam there, but Trulladorn in particular really impresses me as Terrakio.
Bye, Chirutzu!
Had a really tough game last time.
That's
so,
some
well,
karma for last game.
give me Zoe, and I'm going to show them who's going to have a tough time. Chirutzu on the Talia here. Not a position you want to be in, because falling behind against Zoe as Talia means that basically every bubble just kills you. Just not a great position to be in.
And there's no cleanse for Chirutzu either.
No, because he did go for Ignite, which is very brave, but also somewhat risky. Especially, I would have loved to see an Ignite, because he's also playing against Skarner. And against Zoe,
you would like to see Cleanse, would you?
I would have really preferred Cleanse, yeah. Now that you mention it, we haven't really talked about it yet. I feel like besides that, it's I also would not have minded a Halo Blades Tristana. You know, it's something that we don't see as often. I think Press the Attack is just fine as well, but would have been cool to see as we see a big wave getting built up here.
Alongside Malzahar, Skarner tends to be one of those champions that you talk about really needing to build a QSS against, and all of a sudden you find multiple members of the team having to invest 1,300 gold into, basically this not happening. All of a sudden you're stunned up, if Skarner's at level 6 you're impaled. Kayle, of course, completely in the middle of nowhere right now, absolutely going to die, but the question is, who to? And the answer, of course, is Hoff, giving that kill over to the Urgot. Meanwhile, the gank in mid lane is good from Truladawn. The Ignite burning down Terrakio, but it is Truladawn who picks that one up, going 2-0-1 on the mighty Rek'Sai. But going back to the QSSs, that's a lot of gold you've got to invest to have to deal with Evan, and maybe even a Mikhail's Crucible for the Thresh, but all of that just means you've got to burn a bit more gold when you get to your power spikes later.
I'm so impressed by Truladawn. He's having such a big impact on this Rek'Sai, 100% kill participation. He's able to find himself an Infernal Dragon here now as well. More importantly, as you mentioned, the Kayle, one of the things about Kayle is that her laning actually isn't that bad, especially with the way that people have been learning how to play her more and more as the first Infernal gets picked up here. But it's a susceptibility to ganks, as we see there, because once you get ganked, you just can't do anything, especially if you have a relatively good setup, like already with the stun on Skarner. Come on with the disdain on Urgot, you're already in a pretty good position once Impale is available. Like Dynagen is just going to die every single time if he's not warding, if he's not positioning himself defensively. And with Taliyah already behind, with Dynagen already behind, it's looking kind of rough for the Lionhearts, but on the back of some nice CS leads, and specifically Troladawn's gold lead. Thus far, they're still doing fine.
Dynagen's Flash is back available again now, so a little bit more safety afforded, plus the fact, of course, that the ultimate is now there for Kayle, keeping herself alive even if she's not able to attack like she once could. Terrakio still trying to put the damage down onto Jurutsu. Definitely having a better game than last time, because, let's be honest, the Vladimir was just not as on point as perhaps Terrakio would have liked it to be. Finding Zoe, finding that comfort pick, and already finding a lot of damage onto Jurutsu. Can he keep this pressure up?
It's to be fair though, it's also it's an atrocious matchup because you're just going to get permanently shoved in, and there was also some jungle attention making it even harder there. So we see Dynagen on the receiving end of some bad trades. Yarrow and Reagan, though, even though that first block went over, thanks to Truladawn, that lane has pretty much been equalized. Which is not a great place to be in as the Claymores, because that early lead on a route was really something that I think you could have ridden out to big mid-game spikes, but instead that's not really happening as
even the recall's getting cancelled. Chorizo
not respecting the portal jump there.
Every time I say Chorizo I get hungry for chorizo.
I understand completely. I haven't had those in quite a while, but unfortunately.
Well, someone who is looking to get fed in this game is, of course, the Urgot. 1-0-1 already, but that's not the lane we can look at. The Predator, the Impale, Skarner absolutely pulling this Italia to the Doom once more. The portal jump was slightly misplaced, though, consistently taking turret shots. The Void Rush comes through from Truladawn, who's an absolute freaking monster. Gets the double kill, taking down the mid laner and the jungler, all in return for that 1 kill onto Jurutsu.
It's funny, because it's Rek'Sai, and she is in fact a Void monster. No other response warranted there. All jokes aside, I feel like there was an overextension there. Trying to pick up a kill on Chorizo is nice, but going that deep as Evan means that you're really risking the gank or the risk of a counter gank. And Troladawn, I feel like his bot lane plays have been like really well set up. I feel like the bot side roam together with Reagan was really good, but here he shows up and he just completely demolished people. Interesting to note, by the way, that he's gone for Aftershock as well, so I would not be surprised to see him opt for a more tankier build than what we usually see from the Rek'Sai, so going for a more CC focused approach, which is kind of interesting to me.
It does look like he's opting for the Warrior first of all, but again, Sleep Patrol Bubble going to land on Talia. Truladawn here for the gank. Meanwhile, Skarner is waiting in the wings, potentially looking for a counterplay. Impale still not available back again yet, however, having seen the first Impale backfiring slightly for the mid laner.
It's only because I talked about like Conqueror and Halo Blades, but instead he just goes for Aftershock, which is It's nice, you know, because if you're able to hit up those knockups consistently, you're just going to feel so much more tanky. And especially with this lineup, I really like it, because if you go for like a full damage Rek'Sai, it would kind of have happened what we saw happen in the first series, where a team has a Rek'Sai. Now in this case he's doing very well, but if you don't do well and you've built full damage, you know, and you have Halo Blades or Conqueror, just going to have a rough game.
It's a rough game indeed. Currently, London Lionhearts do find themselves with a 1,500 gold lead. We're just past the 10-minute mark. Raygan flashes forward and gets the flash respect immediately from Terrakio, unable to pick up the flash to use the spell thief, instead having to burn her own. Meanwhile, Trulodorn is just in the opposition jungle, casually taking away some camps, getting a bit of vision, and being completely safe for it. Someone who's not safe is Talia, who is going to die 3 times now this game. Already about as many as Troops who died on Silas in the last game, and this matchup not working in his favour even a little bit, as the nice use of Disdain is going to throw Dinojan back, but he is now mighty tanky, despite being on a not that tanky champion. Kayle looking very, very safe.
I think we've reached the point where Kayle, especially once he finishes Blade of the Rune King, is going to start to outtrade Urgot. We're also approaching at level 11. And Hoff, we saw this last time as well, where in a scaling matchup, he's still going to have the impact that he needs to in team fights, because I think that he plays that Urgot very well. Once you read that later stage of the game, he's able to really be on point with Fear Beyond Deaths, etc. To be a big crabby meat shield for the rest of his team is actually playing Crab God, which I really like. But the second Infernal now will not be going over to the Lionhearts, instead of getting taken by the Claymore, so there is still in the cards here.
There is the potential for it, but it would be quite miraculous if Trulodorn picked this one up, and he's not going to, but he does dash in straight to a Sleepy Trouble Bubble. That's going to be shut down. Gold coming through. No, it's not! Look at the shield, look at the ignite. Oh, I thought that the Thresh had done enough to keep Lady Rek'Sai alive. Unfortunately, that ignite was just enough for Terrakio, who gets the big shutdown gold. Now 4-2-1 on the Zoe.
That's not great. Chorizo already having a really... That's not great, man. Fat Zoe is a menace to play against. Evan having a little bit of a rougher go in terms of KDA, but is able to pick up these objectives. He's going to finish his Cinderhulk soon, so he's not in the worst of places. I feel like once Dinogen starts hitting these later levels, that's when we're going to see more and more action happen. And in the bot lane, really not all that much is happening. You know, we're going to go back. Rupert's going to get the Stormrazor. Infinity Edge is finished on Yarrow. And I don't think we're going to see either player really go for something. As you mentioned previously, if that binding just gets rocket jumps and every hook gets dark shielded, that just doesn't... There's just not that much action until one of the jungler shows up. Trulodorn approaching his Black Cleaver, so as for now still going for a more aggressive build, and after that I expect him to go for something tankier, but maybe he's gonna just have Aftershock and have that be his tank stats. But this Zoe, Terrakio, after a mediocre last game, is really doing his very best to just put so much pressure here on Chorizo.
Chorizo only just came back to lane and now is, chunked down to 10% health again.
Yeah, that's what Zoe does.
That is what the Fed Zoe does. And now with the 200 gold bounty on her head, Trulodorn starting to pay attention towards the Zoe. Throws down the challenging smite. The nice knockback from Chorizo going to help out the jungler who gets the shutdown. 5-1-1. Even more impressive than the 4-3-1 of Terrakio's Zoe. Now Trulodorn just goes, you know what, I'll have a Scuttle Crab next, because right now this Rek'Sai can take whatever she wants.
Definitely, and it's also important to note that Chorizo is also not getting any kills, right? It's like all these kills are going over to Trulodorn, and if that wasn't the case, this lane might be looking really differently, because every time that Terrakio steps forward, an Unraveled Earth actually does a lot of damage, right? Like every Seismic Shove is going to be an insta-kill if it hits, like with the Sleepy Trouble Bubbles, but because all these kills go over to Trulodorn, not a lot of money ends up in the pockets of Chorizo, as we see an all-inner in the bot lane.
It's going to be the flash forced from the Morgana, but not enough to keep her alive. Kai'Sa trying to get to safety, already using both the, not the heal, but just the flash, using the Killer Instinct to cleverly reposition to get to safety. One nice kill picked up for the London Lionhearts, though they weren't able to take down the ADC. That is now 2 kills onto Yarrow. He did use both his flash and heal to get that one, but with that Infinity Edge completed, it's fair to say this Tristana is finally coming online.
And once I hit that second and third item, once her passive starts stacking, she gets more and more auto attack range. She's going to be really scary. She's going to do better at Kai'Sa at pushing down these turrets from a safe range, which is something Tristana just excels at, and like trying to set up these team fights in a way that's safe, because Yarrow is really operating with a huge zone of threat, right? You have the Impale, you have the Zoe, you have the Morgana, you have the Urgot. All of these want to try and flip you, so Yarrow needs to play it really safe. Same can be said for Arub, but he has a Black Shield, which is going to at least take away the pressure from Chiruza, right? Because that's something that you usually would be scared of, because Seismic Shove is just a death sentence for any AD carry. But Arub has Black Shield, has the backup. Kai'Sa in general is also quite a survivable, you know, adept with Killer Instinct, as we saw there, and adept at staying alive through these team fights. So I think it's going to be really interesting. Something we haven't really talked about as of yet is Dinojan, who now has it level 11. I mean, we haven't talked about him recently, and this is the point where, you know, kill starts coming in line. We see now has the Blade of the Rune King finished, has hit level 11, and these are like the kind of things you're looking for with a kill. And the Lionhearts actually have a sizable lead now.
They really do, and they keep pushing down turrets, using that Herald to great effect in the top lane, allowing Dinojan to have even more pushing pressure. Third Dragon of the game will be spawning very, very shortly. We're at 16 minutes, and there's been no interest in the QSS shown by the London Lionhearts just yet. But right now, they're not really needing it, because apart from the Sleepy Trouble Bubbles landing from Zoe, they're not finding themselves in too much danger.
Not too much impact has been found. I feel like in most of the cases where Evan went for an Impale play, he would have been dead anyway with like any other player or any other jungler as well, which I think is what kind of prompting or rather explains the lack of response, as we see Sleepy Trouble Bubble come down, and Chiruza with the Weaver's Wolf still can do some work in terms of trying to keep people away from dragons, right? But just in terms of team fights, he needs to play so cleanly to get something done here. Black Shield would have probably, you know, just kind of averted that issue regardless, as Tramasense shows that the Clyde Claymores do really want to contest this next dragon.
Yeah, both teams very, very interested in the Mountain Dragon, wanting that extra damage to neutral objectives and to the structures. Can they get it? Right now, the Skarner point has been controlled by the team with Skarner. That is the Clyde Claymores, who are straight onto the Dragon. Already the Void Rush is available for Trudor. He decides to go in, he looks at the steal, and he gets it. Is there nothing that this jungler can't do? Well, he can't stay alive.
That's a trade you're going to take any time. Because the one thing that the Clyde Claymores do better, or would do better currently, is that their Kai'Sa is going to shred. Because we talked about earlier, Tristana does well with turrets, and Kai'Sa does well with, you know, taking down him with a beautiful hook.
Hook lands on
from
Kai'Sa.
Raygan. Yeah,
Raygan's
incredible.
really been on point in this series. In fact, throughout both of the games, the supports have had a key role.
I definitely agree. More importantly, as I was saying, Kai'Sa, and this is what I've wanted to see the entire game, because you know the portal jump, and thus far Chiruza hasn't really had the opportunity to find it, but Find is here, immediately forced the flash as well. But more importantly, a Kai'Sa already stretched through Baron with a Rage Blade. If she also gets a Mountain Dragon, I think that the Claymores have a legitimate win condition. Just, you have Zoe, Terrakio, just run through River, try to look for someone, Hoff, Yuan or Evan and Arub just free-man the Dragon, or the Baron rather, and Patsy helps out as well with just zoning people, and you just do it so incredibly fast. So the fact that the Lionhearts are able to pick it up means that they also have a fast one, because they do have the kill themselves, which isn't quite as fast as the Kai'Sa, but is going to be close, especially once that level 16.
You put Tristana on top of it as well.
Yeah, well, Tristana, of course, like, she doesn't do it as fast as we see Chiruza. Nice Seismic Shove, but that's not enough.
Yeah, at least with the Seismic Shove, you'd managed to get the flash out of Ewan,
that's
but
nice,
with the Impale going down, it was definitely going to be a dead Chiruza. He had a little bit of trouble in the last game getting caught out, and actually was almost responsible for some of the throws that happened in the late game for the Lionhearts last time. Something definitely that Chiruza needs to look to be improving to help his team out. Now we do see a bit of a push onto the mid lane turret as the Clyde Claymores look to get their first structure of the game.
And Terrakio, nice bubble. I don't think they really want to go in on Raygan necessarily, although they do throw the binding his way. But they're going to get a mid lane turret for their troubles. And this is actually something we see a slight gold lead for the Lionhearts. As of yet, it's about 3.5k gold. But there's a lot of that is in turrets, right? Because in terms of CS, they're not actually that far behind anywhere. Like, neither team has a clear advantage besides the jungle, which is to be expected with how strong Trollodon has been performing. So if we see those turrets getting picked up, then the Clyde Claymores all of a sudden are in an even position. And with Terrakio as fed as he is, if they can ride this mid-game power spike before the kill comes online, before the Tristana really comes online, I think that the Claymores have a legitimate shot at this game, but they need to turn it around. They need to find those opportunities fast, because if not, once we get into the late game, I feel like the Lionhearts are again going to do what we saw last game.
One thing I like about the Claymores is just how spread those kills are around key members of their team. Obviously getting extra damage onto the Zoe, onto the Kai'Sa, even Urgot getting into a position where he's at least able to slightly contest the Kayle. On the other side, it's Rek'Sai and Tristana. That's it. That's 100% of your kills is on those two big AD champions. And while yes, Kayle will absolutely come online, and it's Kayle getting into the late game, it's going to be horrible to deal with. If she hasn't got any kills, it's going to take her that much longer to get there. As we just see Terrakio consistently landing these sleepy trouble bubbles, even if it's just to get the little bit of vision down, which she's currently doing. She's currently zoning out multiple members at a time.
Indeed, and one thing that is important to note is that because of these sleeper trouble bubbles, because of the fear of like an impale flank, because of the threat of a dark binding, it is really hard for the Lionhearts to just straight up siege because they don't have something like the Braum, which we saw earlier, to get kind of counter the Zoe. They're just going to face tank everything, right? Because we see that Terrakio is hitting these shots. So sieging, even though they have a Tristana, is actually hard here for the Lionhearts. So I think they kind of need Baron. But doing Baron against the composition of the Claymores also scares me, because then you get into the same issue that we talked about earlier, where Hoff is going to do a really good job, but hooks like these might make it a little bit easier.
Hook was good, but so was the Black Shield. That's a really nice use of the seismic shove. Terrakio getting caught out, deciding to pull the jump forward, but Trulidorn going to easily pick up that kill. Meanwhile, the Kayle versus Urgot battle is going on in the top lane, and boy, is it a close one. The Fear Beyond Death not going to help Hoff get the kill, but in the end he doesn't need it. Taking down the Kayle in the straight 1 versus 1, that's where the 3-0-1 Urgot will really pay off. Evan getting caught out by the hook. The Black Shield is useful, but there comes the redemption, extra little bit of health coming in for Trulidorn and team as they take down the Skarner. Meanwhile, Morgana trying to land bindings, finding herself getting caught out, using the stopwatch, throwing down the Soul Shackles, only going to lock down Reagan. Decent bit of damage coming in between the supports. The support of combat is raining down, but at the end of the day, it's the ADC who makes the difference. Kai'Sa picks up 1, Kai'Sa picks up 2. Big shutdown onto Trulidorn, and now we have to see Yerrow running with his tail between his little Yordle legs, and now with the Baron available, it is the Claymores who have the advantage.
Absolutely lovely team for that from the Claymores. Arup staying alive throughout the entirety of that. It looks really rough at the beginning, but I think this is the first big mistake we've seen from Trulidorn. That Flash going back in there with the engage, really overestimating his own reach, not getting top of Arup, who also still had the Flash available, so in best case there would have been a Flash for Flash trade. See the Ocean Dragon getting taken here now.
Probably not the dragon they would have wanted at this point.
No, you would a mountain would have been so good. It would have been absolutely incredible. Like, still have an Infernal, so you're not too unsatisfied, but what they need to do now is kill, as we can saw that, still can't beat Urgot in a 1v1. And I think you're going to actually be a lot farther than you might think, because while Kayle is already going to shred through a lot of members, she does need a frontline here still. And Reagan and Trulidorn can fill that frontline role, although both of them are building more bruiser-y in case of Trulidorn, and of course Thresh is also going for support items like the Redemption as opposed to just full tank items. Means that it's actually going to be tough for Dynagen to do the damage that you know the Kayle is capable of, and in a 1v1 you're not going to really win that. So Hoff is going to have the pressure in the side lane, even though the teleport is available, and as I said before, I think the Lionhearts need Baron to really siege, because they don't have anything to do with the Zoe. If they do find the Baron, I think they're going to be able to clean up as fast as we saw them see last game, right? Because they're going to just shred through these turrets. But if they don't have the Baron, if they don't have the sustain, they're just not going to be able to really find that. They have no side lane pressure. So then it's either find a pick, which Reagan has been really good at setting up, or make sure that you're able to just deny vision and get something out of that. And we see that the Lionhearts are trying to do both of these two things now, but with Trulidorn not being anywhere near, this is just a free kill.
Yeah, nice use of the flame, but it's really not going to help Regan in this particular situation. Getting caught out by the
really greedy.
It's going to be 5 kills on the board now for Terrakio, and this is a complete control advantage for the side of the Claymores as they look to secure themselves the first Baron of the second game of this best of 3 series here at the semi-final of the Belong Arena Clash. The Portsmouth Pirates are waiting eagerly to find out who they will be facing in the grand final, Insomnia 64. Right now it's the Clyde Claymores who are looking to turn the tables on the London Lionhearts. This is a team who, yes, they have their backs up against the wall being 1-0 down, but they have got history of reverse sweeping teams, and if anyone can do it, it's the Claymores.
And they have a lot of avenues here, right? I feel like they're still, even though they're at a slight goal disadvantage, comp-wise, I feel like they're in a mild lead just because of how threatening Terrakio Zoe is. As
like so?
Yeah, like exactly
like Zoe?
Like Zoe. Exactly like this, right? This is going to happen so many more times if the Lionhearts don't play around it. And what we saw from the Pirates earlier on is that they were able to play around it. But here, this Baron is just going to get shredded. You don't have a Mountain Dragon, but you do have Kai'Sa. True the Dawn is not going to be able to steal this away.
He's looking for a potential steal. He's going in, and he's not quite going to be able to get it. Instead, giving up his life. Can he take anyone down with him is the question. Using the Void Rush, but getting taken down by Patsy. Dino Jan did continue the push in the top lane, but he might just execute, deciding that this is the quickest way back to his base.
It's 24 minutes into the game. You have a 40-second death timer. I think he just didn't want to use Divine Intervention there and really wanted the turret, but it's not the absolute worst, right? But I don't think it's great. I think a regular back would have been better. I think maybe he didn't want to take the risk, but even then, 4 seconds for Baron recall and then walking back to the base just seems like a mistake. We do see that they do have the Baron now, and well, can be set for the lineouts. That's hard for them to siege because of the composition from the Claymores. Same can be set for the Claymores. This is exactly what you want with the Seismic Shot. It's just not going to work, and then a lot of the damage from Talia is just not really there. And I want to see how well the Claymores leverage this Baron, because they need to leverage this well if they want to win this game. They need to get back into an advantageous position, make a good Baron power play, and then go from there.
Oh, there's no Zonya available for Patsy, but there's almost no life available for Chorizo, who every time he gets hit by that paddle star just loses such a ridiculous amount of his health, and now Chorizo just having to recall. So far this Baron power play has worked out quite nicely for the Lionhearts, despite losing Kayle to that execute, because they have been able to take 2 turrets to the 0 turrets gained by the Claymores so far.
And the more turrets they pick up, the less relevant is. Like, now it's only 400 gold, which in this state of the game doesn't really mean anything, right? Like, coming out from the Claymores. And they're going to pick up more turrets. I mean, these outers are all going to fall, unless I'm very mistaken, which can happen as we see with my predictions. But
even I don't think you're wrong this time.
Thank you. That faith is really heartwarming to me. Hoff having an amazing performance here, but you got to give it to Terrakio and Aven for just being able to consistently find the pressure that they're looking for. Terrakio in particular on the Zoe here, really keeping his team in it, because if they take away the pressure from that Zoe, this game looks absolutely dire.
It's so crucial right now that the Clyde Claymores make this Baron pay, and they are lucky to do so by grabbing the Impale onto Regan, who is just immediately slaughtered by Arup, who's now 5-2-5 on the Kaiser. The Storm Razor, the Rage Blade, it's all there on top of Berserker's Greaves, and now we're going to see a second turret likely to fall in the top lane. Meanwhile, Hoff is in the bottom lane, hasn't got the teleport available, so if a fight were to go wrong, this could be pretty bad for the London Lionhearts. However, they are happy to take the 4 versus 4, knowing there's no support available for Regan, not there with any hooks. Yero getting chunked down by Terrakio, and now the Cannon Siege is here. That's going to be another turret dropping down. Look at the damage Kaiser's able to put out.
And it's really hard for them to, without a front line, match what the Claymores are throwing at them, and this is the power of the Zoe. If you don't draft a Braum, if you don't draft something like a big meaty team shield like, say, a Mundo that could tank all of these, you're going to get stuck. And if the one person who kind of tanks them, which is Regan, gets taken out, it's just not looking good.
Terrakio there trading flashes with Yero, which is really, really crucial, because Zoe has the ability to pick up more flashes using the Spell Thief. The Yero, meanwhile, the ADC for the London Lionhearts is going to be flashless for around about 5 minutes. And now we do see the siege continuing. The inhibitor turret did not drop in the top lane. That is so, so crucial for the Lionhearts, able to keep such a key part of their base. We have got another dragon available. It's an Ocean Dragon. Unsurprisingly, not seeing the teams opting into too much.
You can go for it as the Claymores. There's not too much risk in it. If the Lionhearts take it, you're not too sad either. As we see, True Dawn has already started that. I'm not sure. They actually decide to go for a Weaver's Wall though, to make sure that they do get it, which is cute. That's a fair trade. Like Weaver's Wall, especially in teamfights, is in the most impactful ultimates.
That was a Flash Righteous Glory that almost got the Impale.
Close.
Wow, True Dawn escaping by a whisker there.
Man.
The Weaver's Wall's one thing,
dead.
but when you step forward and throw down some void damage and then suddenly find a Skarner rushing at your face,
that's spooky.
Yeah.
Especially for Rexo, right? Like, imagine you're True Dawn, you're just chilling on the ground and then that happens.
Yeah.
Oof.
I mean, you probably didn't see it till very, very late. Maybe the Tremor Sense.
Baron buff is about to it hasn't run out now,
Yep.
it looks like. So that means that now these teams are on an even footing.
Big Sleepy Trouble Bubble landing onto Kayle, forcing the ultimate out of the Kayle. Now with that unavailable, there's even more potential for the Claymores to find themselves a pick.
And the Claymores are, after their Baron play, they have a slight lead now, but don't be mistaken, the Lionhearts with one good team fight are still in a position where they could close out this game. And the Claymores, if they can play the way they've been playing thus far, if they can respect the damage from the Lionhearts, find these picks with the Zoe that have been so good about in situations like this, then yes, the Claymores can take this to a game 3, but I need to see before I believe, because last time the Lionhearts made so many mistakes, and I hope for the Claymore's sake that this happens again. But the Lionhearts also look a lot cleaner like they did last time.
They certainly do. Chronicler, every single time a Sleepy Trouble bubble lands on a significant target, I go bolt upright in my chair. Luckily for Yarrow, the rocket jump available and just about saving his life on that occasion. But right now, that Zoe's almost a win condition on her own. The right Sleepy Trouble bubble could almost end this game.
Indeed, as Downagent has the teleport available. Jero has gone for the QSS, which I think kind of alleviates, because he would be one of the prime targets. As we see the Clyde Claymores moving, the Baron is about to spawn, and this is a key objective for both of these two teams.
Clyde Claymores here, unaware they might be walking into a little bit of a death bush. We do see them scouting out the vision, but it's going to be the hook landing onto Zoe. Such a key target. The Black Shield arriving just a little bit too late, and Terrakio gets shut down by Jarutsu. Meanwhile, the Redemption comes in, keeping all the members of the London Lionhearts healthy. They're doing really well in this fight. They're already 2 for 0, and now with the Talia taking down the Morgana, they are 3-4-1. Rek'Sai has dropped down. There's a lot of damage gone from the Rek'Sai, but with Kayle slaughtering the Urgot and only Morgana alive, there is the potential now for the side of the London Lionhearts to walk this all the way down the mid lane. They've got themselves an inhibitor turret first in their sights. If this drops down in the short amount of time that we feel it will, this could well be the end.
Tristana are still there. They have all the damage that they need to chew through this entire base, and it's just Arup who now needs to make some kind of miracle play, because it's 15 seconds before the rest of his team is there.
One saving grace is it isn't Morgana who lived, instead it is the Kaiser. Has she got what it takes to make this heroic last stand for the Clyde Claymores, or does their season end here? Will the champions be going home before Insomnia? Yes, they will, because Kayle takes down Arup, and that is the dreams of the Claymore shattered. Lionhearts are the Kingslayers. They are into the final to face the Portsmouth Pirates.
Well, I thought they were going to win 2-0, and it turns out
the Chronicler curse.
That is not the case. They get swept 0-2, and what a performance here from the Lionhearts, because I don't think a lot of people saw that coming into this game, that even if they would get the upset, they would do it in a 2-0 fashion. And while that first game was, in my opinion, a very long, drawn-out game with a lot of mistakes from both of these two teams, both games had one thing in common, which was once the Lionhearts find a good team fight, the game is just over.
And at the end of the day, it all came down to one death bush. One key hook, followed up by that really, really nice seismic shove.
Yeah.
And that's all she wrote. And that is the Claymore's defense over.
And they pick their most valuable target. We keep going on about Terrakio, how Zoe himself, he's the win condition. He stays alive in that fight. That might have been turned around, but instead, as you say, gets taken out before anything can get done, just gets completely stun locked. They don't respect the lack of vision that they have at this Baron, and out of nowhere, they just end the game.
I mean, the last 10 minutes or so was basically just pressure from the Claymores.
Yeah.
They got themselves the Baron, they got turrets, they almost took inhibitors themselves. But wow, I mean, that's it. And we have got, for the final time this split, an update of the brackets. And the only thing that matters is the two teams on the right. The Lionhearts will face off against the Pirates at Insomnia 64, the big stage final that both of those teams will have been dreaming of.
And it's especially heartwarming for the Lionhearts here, right? Coming in as a team that a lot of players wouldn't have as much on their radar as, of course, the Pirates, who everyone has been talking about for the entire season, and the Claymores, the defending champions, but knocking them out fairly unceremoniously in a 2-0 sweep here at the semi-finals. Also, it's got to be a nice morale boost for the Lionhearts. And from the other side, the Pirates, I'm thinking they're going to look at game one and be like, well, okay, we can do it, but game two, being in a disadvantaged position and still having the state of mind to suddenly find that one team fight and completely turn the game around, that is scary.
We've been talking all split about which teams we thought, we might be seeing live in person at Insomnia, and the same two team names came out pretty much every conversation, and that was the Claymores and that was the Pirates. And at the end of the day, it's the defending champions who have gone home early, and instead we have the opportunity to meet the London Lionhearts as well as those good old Portsmouth Pirates.
That's awesome, isn't it?
It's pretty awesome.
I don't have a lot more to add to that. I'm still kind of getting over the fact that both of these two fights, like, it was such a different series from the first one, right? Because the first one really showed the dominance of the Portsmouth Pirates, while the second one showed that, not to discredit the performance from the Lionhearts, but I feel like the series could have gone to the Claymores just as easily, because I feel like both of those two teams were on a really similar level, and in the end, we saw that what the Portsmouth Pirates did very well in Series 1 was they able to always play around their opponent's win conditions. And we saw that in this scenario, especially with how good Reagan has been looking on that fresh this game, because I think like his hooks were just incredible the entire game, and really what kept him in that game, the threat of that, and the way that they try to play around it wasn't nearly as clean as the Pirates, right? But still, London Lionhearts, I'm really impressed with Trulidon's performance as well, especially in the second game. Like, that Rek'Sai was really got the ball rolling everywhere else, and even when they were at this disadvantage, they never gave up. They played to their win conditions, and in the end, a deserved 2-0 win here.
Absolutely, and that all concludes the studio part of our Belong Arena Clash regular split. Next week we will still be on air. We have got ourselves the Challenger Finals, finding out which teams are going to be at the absolute top of our lower tier divisions of the League of Legends. We also now know, as we've said so many times, but just once more to reaffirm it for both teams, London Lionhearts, Portsmouth Pirates in the Belong Arena Clash League of Legends final at Insomnia 64. Myself and Mal, we will get to see them there. And if you want to see them there too, do go online and have a little look. See if you can get yourself some tickets for what is a fantastic long weekend of it's a video game extravaganza. That's the one I want. It's an extravaganza.
Love video
Mal.
games.
I love extravaganzas. I like extraordinaires, but mostly extravaganzas.
I like video games.
It's an extravaganza because it's over Easter.
Here at Belong London, we've got the Secura's Shattered Ice Twice event, inviting all the players, all the public to come down and give it a go. This is the first time that we're actually getting a game so ahead of release. We've actually got a team that came down with developer consoles. It's just crazy to have a game like Secura here.
I really liked it. I found it really engaging. I thought it was a really fun game to play. It's a really cool way of giving game users an opportunity to play it before it comes out.
The first impression is absolutely stunning. It looks amazing. All of those sounds in your headset while you're playing it, it just makes unbelievable experience.
It is very fun to play. I love it so far. I really like the combat. I really like the kill animations. It's just so brutal.
I like the way that you can explore everything, and I like the grappling hook. It gives you like more mobility. It's like a new experience every time.
The difficulty and the amount of effort you have to put into a boss fight makes it more immersive for me personally. It's really good, but it's hard.
The atmosphere in the arena has been absolutely amazing. We actually have quite a few giveaways. We've got t-shirt and we've got exclusive posters as well.
It is a brilliant game, absolutely. I will be playing it non-stop. 10 out of 10 will be getting it.